All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
Welcome to the College Breakdown Show. I'm your host, Ray Cruz. We're getting started here today. We got a lot of topics we need to talk about. We're going to break down. We're going to go through. If you look in the comment section below, it lets you know that what topics we are going to talk today here. We'll go ahead and bring up the Thursday nights and Wednesday night's game schedule up there. You can see all the wins and losses, who won, who lost on the ticker down below. We're going to get started here today for this show. We're going to go with, let me see here what we're going to break down here today. We're going to talk about Ed Orgeron, his agreement that he will be leaving. Who will be the next coach for LSU football program? We're going to get started here with that. So who you think will be the next coach at LSU? Ed Orgeron early this week has stepped down. He will continue coaching the 2021 season. He's going to finish out his job tender, but he is not going to be back for the 2022 season. The tongue twister there. And so, Ed Orgeron came to LSU. He built up his first three seasons before an epic 15-0 in 2019 season that ranked among the greatest of all times. What are the LSU Tiger fans' feelings for Ed Orgeron? I mean, he's a former LSU alumni. He represents the university very well. So what do we see here for Ed Orgeron, and where is he going to be going at? Is he going to be feeling like a defensive coordinator job somewhere in the near future? So we got a little bit of topics here to talk about. We're going to go through a little bit of a coaching list. Nicole Archibald reported that the piece goes into the many reasons that Ed Orgeron is out of LSU. Her piece on the athletic.com article. It outlines a little bit of what went on in the program itself. Let's take a look here at the top 5 lists that some people are putting out here. Targets: Jimbo Fisher, former LSU coordinator at LSU is being rumored. I don't think he's going to leave Texas A&M. I think he's got a good job going there at Texas A&M. I don't see him leaving there. Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss, he's another hot topic here. Do you see him leaving Ole Miss, going to LSU? LSU is a great job. I mean, it's a very great job and good football pedigree here in college football. You're playing in Death Valley, they call it. Tiger Stadium is very loud. It's all top of the teams. Look what the LSU did to Florida last week under Ed Orgeron. Number 5, Mike Gundy for Oklahoma State University. He's been a stellar job at Oklahoma State University. Do we see him leaving to go to LSU? Is LSU attractive enough for him to leave Oklahoma State? We don't know. We don't know what his heart is in there. How about if you look at the next ones come up on the list? Mel Tucker. Mel Tucker's been doing good at Michigan State. Is he ready to move on? Is he ready to take over an elite program like LSU football and lead them into the next stage of their program existence? He's been rumored. He was at number 4 list. How about Joe Brady, former LSU coordinator, left to go to the Carolina Panthers, offensive coordinator there? Do we see him coming back and taking over this team? His offense is very stout with LSU, with Joe Burrow and stuff like that. Can he recruit? That's going to be the next good question too. Can LSU do what they need to do on this position here? So that's going to be the next question here. for that. Billy Napier, the Louisiana head coach, he's been doing a good job at Louisiana. They've been doing pretty good in the season. Is he ready to move up into the next tier of a program, of an elite program like LSU and the SEC? That's going to be a good question there. We don't know exactly how LSU is going. They really haven't set out a target. I know the possibility they're looking at the number one head person is Brady, the Carolina Panthers coordinator. How about Dave Ardena at Baylor? He's done a good job at Baylor. Do we see him coming to LSU? We don't. I mean, that's gonna be a good question. That's the number one pick for most people in publications around the world here, around the college football scenes. He helped work the monster of the Wisconsin defense as the defensive coordinator, left for LSU to help model an eventual national championship defense. Now he's being able to turn to Baylor around in just over a year. Is he ready to come back to LSU? I mean, he's an LSU defensive coordinator back when they won the national championship. They had the LSU defense very good. So is he going to be coming back? Is he ready to take over this program? All my viewers on Facebook, put your comment down. Who you think is going to be the next coach at LSU? We'll read them off here on the College Breakdown show. So, that's going to be something that we need to talk about here and stuff. And so we got the top 5 lists here. That's one thing. I've seen some other target lists here. If you break down the upcoming schedule, they beat Florida. They got Ole Miss. They have 4 wins, 1 loss at right now. 5-1 against Alabama. They're 4-2 against Arkansas, 2-3 against Louisiana Monroe, and 4-2 against Texas A&M. That's their finishing out their schedule here for the college football season. They have their next opponent is Ole Miss, which is we're going to break down today on the show. The next opponent after that is going to be Alabama, Arkansas. As I follow that, University of Louisiana Monroe. He's following that. Texas A&M. He's following that. So, are we going to see? Is this what we're going to see here for this thing? So. That's going to be a next good question here. Joe Brady left the LSU, went to the Carolina Panthers with Matt Rule. Can you break him away from the pro scene and bring him back to LSU? He was only there a year, won the national championship, then he left to go to Carolina Panthers. Can they lure him back with money talking and bring him back if he's ready to go take a step back to college, but as a head coach? That could be a good, interesting dynamic, because way he put his offensive in their barrels and all that going through. He has a unique way he does quarterbacks and receivers. If you haven't heard, when he was at LSU, they had him throwing through a barn door through to the receiver. So that's the best way to have him come through the dark, throwing little small areas, and that's how you get the quarterback in. He has a very interesting way into getting the quarterbacks throwing in small windows. And that's why I think it really helped Joe Burrow and then Jamar Chase also too. So like in the year of the national championship when he was there. So I think it's going to be a unique situation. I think he could come back, and can he recruit? That's going to be a big question. Can he recruit as a head coach? Can he sell LSU as a destination to try to compete back with Alabama, try to compete back with some of the top teams in the SEC like Georgia, Oklahoma. Texas coming in. So you're going to have a lot of elite teams coming into the SEC to split up that conference a little bit here. So you're going to have a lot of traction, a lot of interesting moves, a lot of getting top-tier talents. Can he land some top-tier talents? That's what happened to Ed Ogeron. Sometimes he couldn't land, recruiting-wise, land a top-tier recruit. So, it showed over years and years after the national championship, and that's why I think he stepped down willingly, and I think it was a good opportunity. Now, who's going to be the next coach at LSU in 2022? I wish some LSU fans here, if they're watching, chime in on here. I like to get some of your intakes on this show. Who's gonna be who in this show? So, it's like a lot of top tiers here that we were talking about here on this game. So, we're gonna talk about that. You can catch us. Let's go here. We can catch us on the ASAP online. You can catch us on our Facebook channel, on YouTube. It's all streaming down below on the banner. You can on the TV platform, Fox D Network, All Sports, All Plays Network, on the Fox D TV platform. So I mean, we got a lot of interesting stuff going on here today. We got a jam packed show. We just tipped the iceberg here on that. Now the next question for everybody here is Dan Mullen taking over the hot seat in the SEC as a Florida Gator head coach? We know what he has done, what he hasn't done. We know he made a late change in the LSU game to Richardson. Is that a mistake? He went to Richardson early? Believe so. I think Richardson is a better quarterback than Emory Jones. I mean, tests showed that he did more production in that LSU game than Emory Jones did. Emory Jones helped LSU get that lead, and then they had the record setting break. We're gonna get into the game highlights, a little bit of that game last week against Florida. Is this a total meltdown for Dan Mullen? For Florida Gators, they got Georgia coming up next. They got a bye week. Georgia got a bye week. So both teams are preparing for each other. And right now, Florida hasn't announced a starting quarterback. I think it's a good strategy, because now Georgia's got to get ready for Emory Jones and Richardson at the same time. So that could give Georgia a little bit of fits until they can make the adjustments at halftime. So can the Gators come out and beat Georgia in the largest cocktail thing here in Jacksonville? That's coming up on next weekend. At 3:30 here at TIA Bank Field in Jacksonville. Jacksonville City Council just came out saying that they're going to cut down 65,000 seats, cut it back down a little bit. They're going to lose by, I think, 8,000 seats for the upcoming year, because it costs the city a lot of money to get a temporary seating in the stadium. So we might see some cutbacks here for about 8,000 people not showing up, not be able to get into the stadium because they don't have the temporary seating, because it costs a lot of money to put those temporary seatings in TIA Bank Stadium. So it goes from 95,000 probably back down to 80,000. So are we going to see this? Are we going to see what's happening here about this? We're going to see a lot of changes. What can we see coming up here in the next few months of this program thing? So we got a lot of issues here with Florida, and we got a lot of issues coming up because they're getting, right now is that biggest test coming back up. Alabama was one of the big tests. They played good against Alabama. So if they take that the way they played against Alabama and into that Georgia game, it could be a good game here in TIA Bank Stadium Field in Jacksonville. So we could see a lot of electricity coming here in this contest. Dre Montez is my co-host. He's a Florida Gator fan. I wish he was here to get the perspective of a Gator fan here on this issue here with Dan Mullen. Is Mullen on the hot seat? Is this going to be the year? One of these guys got to go, either Mullen or the defensive coordinator for Florida and Gresham. Which one is going to be gone this year? Which one's going to probably be gone next year if they don't turn this thing around? Because they brought Dan Mullen here to turn everything around here. So, I mean, what is Dan Mullen going to do to turn this program around? They're going to have to find a new defensive coordinator, because the defense is not, lights out in the Florida standards. Back in the day when Florida won the national championship, they had a stout defense and stout offense. So they're not getting the top tier recruits here in the state of Florida. They're going out to Alabama. They're going out to Georgia. They're going out west a little bit. They're getting a little bit up north here, in the state of North Carolina. Teams are starting to come down in Florida and picking out some of the best recruits out of Florida. Florida's not getting the top tier talent here in Florida. The old saying back in the 80s was when Jimmy Johnson left Miami, was because Florida was coming off probation, and he knew that Florida was going to start getting all the top tier recruits to come to Florida after they come off their probation. So back in the 80s, so when they came off probation, that's why Jimmy Jones left to go to Cowboys. That was one of the reasons why he left Miami University. and the U went downhill because when Jimmy Johnson left, they had Corey came in, Cokers came in and did pretty good. He had won the national championship, and then after that, and Miami now has deteriorated down to a level 2 tier, not an elite tier program anymore. So I mean, how are we going to fix that? How are we going to fix the issue of these what you want to talk about, the issues of putting Florida back on that map back when they had Tebow days and Leak and getting back up there, and when Trask left last year, this year when he's a senior, the offense completely changed and went to a run style offense. But now Richardson come back, he's a dual threat because Richardson's got a good arm, he's good accurate, he's better accurate than Emory Jones, and he's he runs a big tie. He's a big kind of guy, so he can run the ball a little bit too. So I mean, it gives you a little bit of Emory Jones / Kyle Trask involved here. So if it gets back to that Kyle Trask offense, I think Florida could give Georgia a run for their money here, and the game, because we've seen what they did against Alabama earlier in the year. They played good against Alabama. They only lost by like 3 or 4 points. Can they play that type of football against Georgia? Good Georgia's defense is good. So that's coming up next week. We're going to talk a lot more about that. So we want to get back here. If Dan Mullen is fired, who will come to the University of Florida as a head coach? Who could bring that program back up the tier? I mean, you got same lists out for LSU. You got Brady Jones. You got all these other Baylor coaches. They can bring him in. Who will take if Dan Mullen is fired? But we're not saying that Dan Mullen is going to get fired because Florida has not come out. Is Dan Mullen on the hot seat? I think he is on the hot seat. I think because he was there to bring this program back to the promised land, and he hasn't really done that. He had some good years with Kyle Trask, beat Georgia last year with Trask and stuff. So can they redo what they did this year to finish out strong for him, and possibly he'll probably come back for the 2022 season and maybe be on the hot seat. And if he can't get Florida back to where they need to be, he's probably gone after the 2022 season. So I hate to say that to my Gator friends, but I think that's the truth. I think his role is going to be up pretty soon. I don't think he's going to survive the 22 season with the record he's got now. Florida needs to get back in that level where they are losing only one game in the talk of the college playoff season. So I mean, what can we see? What can the Gators do? What can the Gators do to get back in that promised land, to get back up in that talk of the top tier and be up in the same conversation with Georgia, Alabama? Can LSU do that this year after they try to find their head coach? I mean, it depends on who takes that job. They could be back in the talks. You got Oklahoma and Texas coming in probably next year, into the SEC. So that's going to bring more more recruits in, and then they have the opportunities to go into Texas and take some of those recruits away from Texas, like Alabama has been doing. So, I mean, Texas is the landfall of high school football talent. I mean, a lot of talent does come out of Texas. So what can we see here in this thing? So Jonathan Master says, good morning, Ray. Good morning, Jonathan. Thanks for joining the show today. You were out in California. You were up early this morning. It's 6:22 in the morning there in California. So did you make it to Atlanta? I mean, the Dodgers and the Braves are playing. He's a Dodgers fan. So I just wondered if you made it down here to Atlanta and got in the time zone, the East Coast time zone. So, so if you look at some of the situation here, we're going to go with the down at the ticker. We have the AP top 25 rankings. You can see the latest rankings here on the ASAP College Breakdown Show. We on the ASAP Facebook. We on the Fox D Network platform, TV platform. Right now, the TV platform is having some little bit of technical issues. So we're not really on there right now, but we're just giving them out the shout out still here on the ASAP College Breakdown Show. So if you hear my dog in the background, I'm sorry about that. My other son hasn't got him out yet and taking her downstairs. So I'm sorry about that. We're talking about Dan Mullen and he's on the hot seat. I think he is on the hot seat. Let's take away this Florida. It's a very interesting dynamic of this Florida LSU game. Tyron Davis Price broke the LSU record of Leonard Fournette single rushing record against Florida. I think that's left a bad stain in the Gators' mouth on that. I think they gave up way too much rushing yards, and they just really couldn't stop that counter trade off offense on the Florida Gator defense, and that's why I was talking about Grantham, the defense coordinator for Florida. He should be gone because he did not make any changes on that defense. He didn't even do slant stunts or anything to try to slow down that running attack. They just let them run that counter trade all game long. I mean, they ran that counter trade effectively. They went back to the old Redskin days, back to counter trade, back in the old Redskins day when they had the big hogs up there. You thought the Redskins were running that counter trade with Riggins back there on the way Tyron Davis Price was running that football offensively. And that was the offense, man. They got that. And then you got to think about Brad Johnson's kid, Gus Johnson. He was lights out. He not have a big, strong college arm, but he did put some balls in there, and he did have some good plays to keep him alive in this game. So the immediate passing game was working for LSU in this ball game. I mean, LSU played a complete football game. I think this is one of the best games they had all year, put together on the offense and the defensive side for LSU. Excuse me. So I think that's what we're gonna see here, on this fine, at College Day here. Last year in Death Valley, the crowd that came with the expectation of 4-3, 2-2 in this Southern Conference. That's not what LSU needs to be. They don't need to be 4-3 or 2-2 in the Southern Conference. They want to be competing with Alabama. They want to be compete with Georgia. They want to be up in that top echelon. LSU football has dropped off a little bit after that national championship scene with Ed Orgeron, but he's getting ready to be relieved after the season. He's moving on to his whatever job he's going to land, and then they're going to bring a new coach. Can that new coach now has to get his recruits in to be available to do? So they got enough time, but if LSU can name the head coach right before the bowl games or before this, right after the season ends, that's going to give them a heads up on these recruiting, because right now recruiting is still going on for college football. They got to get in. They got to get the new coach so they can get in the ability to get some of these other recruits that have not committed in the top tier. So that's what people are probably going to wait for here to see what LSU brings in as the head coach and how he can recruit. So that's going to be a little bit of a factor here. And then they're going to see what the situation with Dan Mullen is before Florida recruits. So, I mean, if you're at an SEC school and you're recruiting like Georgia and Alabama, do you come down to Florida here and you say, hey, look, we don't know what kind of coaching system that Florida is going to have next year. If they can start putting that, they can start campaigning that out. So, I mean, that's the thing that we're going to have to see here in Florida and LSU. Because, I mean, they can go into LSU right now and pull some of their talent out and say, hey, look, we don't know the situation. We don't know who's going to be the head coach. Why don't you come to Alabama? We're situated here. We got Nick Saban. Our coaching staff is all 7. They can sell that and pitch. You know why? So you might see LSU not get some top tier here in the 21-22 season, the 22 season, 23 season until after the following year when they get land their head coach. That's going to be the key for LSU. They have to get the head coach in here to get some recruits in, or else they're going to have to see how good they are coaching and see what kind of place they can put LSU in next year. So that's going to be a thing. But if you look at this game here, I mean, Florida, they did great. I mean, Damon Clark intercepted Florida quarterback Anthony Richardson. Davis Price literally physically ran out of the final 1 minute and 59 seconds against Florida. They're 4-3 and 2-3. That's not what we want to see Florida going into that Georgia game, coming in at 2-3 and 4-3 overall. I mean, if you look on paper, Georgia looks like they're going to kill Florida, but we know how Florida played against Alabama. Can that same Florida team come in and play against the Georgia Bulldog defense? Whose defense is better? Is Alabama defense is better than Georgia defense? Right now, Georgia defense is showing hands down they're the best team, the best team in college football right now, with their defense and their offense is playing stagnated. Their offense is playing great. Stetson Bennett, JT Daniels went down. We don't know what kind of injury he has. So that's another thing too. Stetson Bennett played against Florida last year and didn't do too good. So is that going to be the key here? Is we'll get JT Daniels back. JT Daniels played pretty good against Florida, but they still lost. Can they bring this back? Can they bring this team back? Can we see Florida dominate Georgia again? and start that win streak against Georgia in here in the Cocktail Bowl. We don't know. We don't know what Dan Mullen's going to bring in. We don't know what kind of offense is going to bring. If they bring in Emory Jones and let him start, then that's going to be, we're going to see Georgia probably jump all over him. We don't need Georgia don't need to have a fast break start. If Georgia gets out onto a 14-15, 14-0, 21-0 lead on Florida, they can forget it because that defense is that stout. If they jump on Florida Gators, this game could get out of hand next Saturday. So, and I mean, Georgia's got a stable running backs. This is one guy, what he did to Georgia. Mac Johnson only passed for 133 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did what he had to do. That successful Hail Mary pass by Florida at the end of that first half was the latest chapter in the rivalry. But still, they lost. Emory Jones threw 2 interceptions, including one returned by Dwight McLaughlin, 37 yards for a touchdown on the Gators' first series. And Jones deflected the pass, was intercepted by linebacker Mitch Baskerville, who returned it 54 yards to the Florida 28. So that shows you right there, LSU had short field most of, those 2 possessions. He scored on those 2 possessions. So, I mean, and then you had Davis who break Fournette's single rushing record at LSU. I thought that was going to stay for a while, but this guy came in and did it right against the Gators. I mean, what is the situation going on with the Gators and Dan Mullen and stuff? So that's going to be another issue. That's going to be another interesting issue of what they're going to see here and stuff. So, yeah, Jonathan wish he was here in Atlanta. So I mean, Jonathan, you could be that good luck though. I mean, you were at the game and they scored 11 runs, so you could come down here and be that team. So let's get back to college football here. I want to break down one more game here, and this is the game in Boone, North Carolina. Number 14, Coastal Carolina University goes into Boone. Had not won in Boone, North Carolina. Have not won in Boone, North Carolina. They're 0-5 coming into this game. Then they left at 0-6 because Appalachian State beat them on the last second field goal. That was a good game all the way through. You got to tip your hats off to Coastal Carolina. You got to tip your hats off to Appalachian State University. They played a great football game Wednesday night. They beat them 30-27 in front of a capacity of 31,000 at Kidd Brewer Stadium, which Coastal Carolina has never won in that stadium. They're 0-6 now going into that stadium. Right now, the championship, the Sun Belt division, it runs through Boone, North Carolina. They still got to go up against their top tier team, so still in that conference. But right now, that east side of the Sun Belt Conference goes to Boone, North Carolina, and they did a great job upsetting CCU. What does it stand for the Chandeliers in Conway, South Carolina? They go 6-1. How far would they drop in the poll? They ranked number 14 going into and playing unranked Appalachian State. Did they fall out of the polls? And now let's talk about this situation with the polls. We know what Alabama did. They lost to an unranked Texas A&M team, a Southern Conference team. I understand that. But they only dropped 5 spots to an unranked team. But other teams that lose to an unranked team, they drop 6, 8, 9. Sometimes they even drop out of the polls. Is the poll set up for Alabama to always be in the playoff talks? So if they lose to an unranked team, they only fall a certain spot so they can make it back into the, they're back in the top 4 right now. So they're back in that college playoffs. Is the polls really rigged for Alabama to when they lose to an unranked team, even though they lost to a Power 5 unranked team, but still when other teams lost to a Power 5 unranked teams, they dropped 7, 8, 9 spots down in the poll, but Alabama only dropped 4 spots when they lost to Texas A&M unranked team. And now they're back in the number 4, they're back in the top in the college playoff. Is the polls, the top 25 polls, rigged for Alabama to only drop 4 spots when they lose to unranked teams? Now, if they lose to an unranked team that's really unranked and they'd only drop 5 spots, then we got a little bit of questions here with the polls thinking. Because I mean, to me, it's unfair that other teams lose to unranked teams and they fall 5 or 6 spots down the drain, and sometimes they fall out. I mean, you got to look at some situations. I mean, Texas, they lost to BYU lost They're unranked now. They lost to Arizona State. Boom, boom. They out of the rank. They dropped all the way down to from I think they were 14. They dropped all the way down to 21 after that game, and they lost to Arizona State, a Power Five school. Boom, they dropped 7 spots. So I mean, is the polls really rigged for Alabama to be always be in the playoff conference in target, even though they lose to an unranked team in Texas A&M who were unranked and they got back in rank after they beat them. So I mean, what is the situation with Alabama? If you drop other teams 7 or 8 spots down after losing to an unranked team, why didn't you do Alabama the same way? I think polls are kind of rigged for Alabama. It's always going to be rigged for Alabama. Alabama's going to bring the money in. And Nick Saban, I think it's just the way it's going to be until Nick Saban decides he wants to walk Park's way at Alabama. So that's going to be the next thing. So we're going to get into our college breakdown here. Coastal Carolina, they're 5-2, 2-1 in the Mountaineers are 5-2, 2-1 in the Sun Belt. The Chandeliers are 6-1, 2-1 from reaching the championship game. We're in control of our own destiny right now, says Appalachian State coach Sean Clark, whose team bounced back from a 41-13 loss last week at Louisiana Lafayette. I'm so proud of this team. And, I mean, you got to take your hats off to them. I mean, Coach Lawler came in averaging 48.8 points a game. They only scored 27 in this ball game. Chandeliers were, outgained 575 to 376 yards on offensive struggle to protect quarterback Garrison McCall. They came in with a good blitz, the Mountaineers did, and they got to McCall and they put pressure on him. So it looks how it flipped. Coach Carolina coach John said 1 loss, and now we're acting like everything in the world is ending. That's sort of where we put ourselves. Now we have to have a loss, and now we don't think we're invincible. Hopefully those little things will get us well back in them and corrected and move forward. That's the Chandeliers head coach. So we're going to get ready to start our, breakdown. We have Saturday's action. This is the ASAP College Breakdown Show on the All Sports All Play Network and the Fox D Network. We'll take a few here from the Fox D crew, and we'll be right back. Take it downstairs.
This is the Fox D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at foxdnetwork.com.
Welcome back to the ASAP College Breakdown Show. We're getting ready to get into the segment. My co-host is not here, so I will be doing most of the picks here today for our pick'em part of the show of college football. So we're going to see how my record continues to go here on the show. What do we look at here on this show here? We look at the last week's pick'em here. Me and Dre are going head to head. Dre's not here, so probably won't count these weeks show unless he makes it here before the show ends and we get all his picks. So if we look right now, Dre from last week is 30-15. I am 30-13. Our overall record is Dre Montez 128 over 83 versus 135-76 after 211 games that we have picked on this show together since we have rebranded the show to the ASAP College Sports Breakdown. We didn't do it the previous 3 because I didn't have a co-host at the previous time on the Ray Sports Show. We changed it over to be the ASAP College Breakdown Show. So we have picked 211 games so far. Me and Dre are in a tight situation here. Dre is 128-83. I'm 135-76 over 211 games. So that's what we're looking at right now for our pick'em. Uh, so we're gonna get ready for the Saturday College breakdown pick'em part of the show here. The first game we're going to look at October 23rd, which is the day at 12 o'clock at Navy Marine Corps Stadium in Annapolis, Maryland. This game is going to be on ESPN2. The 6-0 Cincinnati Bearcats will come to the Midshipmens at 1-5. Obviously if you look at this game here, we know on paper that Cincinnati is going to tear up Navy on paper, but that's why you play the game on the field. Navy's offense is that triple option offense, so it takes a lot of work. You got to pick it up quick, and you got to pick it up because if you don't play some in football against Navy can hurt you really on the running game and the option. So that's going to be a lot of attacks here on this ball game. So what can we see? What can we see with the Navy midshipmen here against Cincinnati? Ball control. You want Navy when needs time possession. Navy needs to run the ball effectively. Navy needs to keep Cincinnati's offense as much as possible off the field. So ball control of this team, and if Navy can lead the team in time of possession, Navy can pull an upset right here, a major upset against Cincinnati. Cincinnati has to go into the Navy Marine Corps Stadium. Navy plays pretty good at home. They're only 1-5 this season, but they have been in a lot of contests. They've been in a lot of contests this year with that triple option. That triple option has given plays because you got to think about it. How many times the offensive lineman wants to get chop blocked? They're going to get their knees taken out today. They got to be ready for it because Navy will cut you down to the ground. That's how the option works. You cut the defensive lineman out. That gets your fullback and your top tier linemen into the linebacking position. Your linebackers got to stay. And I'm going to tell you, an option offense is tough because you have a lot of eye candy. You have a lot of misdirections. You have a lot of fullback dives. You have a lot of counter option reverse, different variety. You're going to have a wide receiver come in between the running back and you pitch the ball and the wide receiver takes off the next way and your defensive end's not over there on the backside, protecting that backside. If he gets too far down, that pops it outside. You reset the edge on the outside on the reverse side. So, Navy could do that to you. You have a lot of similarities here with Navy style of offense because if you get the fullback dive going, that leads to the option outside. If you get the option going one way direction, boom, and you catch it. And if that offensive coordinator sees that backside defensive end crashing too far, boom, they're going to call the option reverse. Guess what's going to happen? That guy's going to jump out, down, way down, and it's going to reset the edge to the outside. You got about 15, 16 yards down the field before somebody realized that you can't play man-to-man against Navy. So if you play man-to-man against Navy, your corners are running with the wide receivers down the field. Guess what's happening? If they get past that front tier, they get past that front seven, your corners are out of position to try to tackle somebody. So, yeah, I expect Cincinnati to run a lot of safeties down in an 8-man box. You have to put an 8-man box on it. It's the way you have to stop the option. 8-man box. You tell the safety, hey, if the pitch comes out to the side, you got to take the pitch guy. Your defensive end's got to take the quarterback. If you can play the pitch and the quarterback, and the running back at the same time, he has no pitch. So you can force him down back inside into where your help is at. So that's going to be the key here. How Cincinnati plays the option, how Cincinnati defense reacts to the option, how Cincinnati defense linemen don't get chopped down too much. That's going to be the big key here for the for Cincinnati Bearcats. The Bearcats have been running the ball very effectively. They've been passing the ball very effectively. They went in Notre Dame and beat Notre Dame. Cincinnati is on a high right now. The point spread in this one is 28 points. Cincinnati's a favorite by 28 points. The over and under is 49. I think the Bearcats can handle the Navy. I would like to see the Navy win, because I am, a Navy veteran. So, as a veteran, you hope your service academies does pretty good. Like Air Force, hope the Air Force Academy does good. Army hopes the Army does good. Navy, Marines and Navy hopes the Naval Academy does good. It's a big thing in the service branch and bragging rights. So what can we see here? So that's where we're going to be. So that's what we got to talk about. What confidence and what how Cincinnati is going to hold. They have Temple and USC showed that this is a fully focused Bearcat team that isn't taking anyone lightly. Navy will have a few good drives, but the defense won't be able to slow down the Bearcats machine. I understand that. I think the Navy's defense is, undermanned, going to be way undermanned. So that's why I'm telling you, Navy has to win that time of possession. If they much as to keep the Bearcats offense off the field and keep their offense on the field and have long drives and take the time in possession, then we can see the Naval Academy being in this ball game a little bit longer than when people respect it to be. But if they don't do this in the first quarter, they don't stand a lot of drives, Bearcat gets on top, Navy can't come back. So the key for the Bearcats to win, jump out early, jump out every time they have the ball, score every time they have the ball, and don't let the Navy's offense drive the length of the field too many times in this thing. If they get these long drives and they get these time possessions, and the key here is if Cincinnati gets them in Navy in short field position on 4th and 1, Navy will go for it because that's their style of play. So the Navy, you got to play all 4 downs against Navy. You have to play all 4 downs against Navy because sometimes Navy won't punt. Navy will go for it if it's 4th and short. So that's going to be the key attention. How will the Bearcats handle the Navy's option? How the Navy is going to stop their Bearcats offense? The best defense against the offenses, keeping their defense on the field for long drives. How many long drives Navy can have in this football game? And if the Navy can win the time of possession, then they have a good chance of winning this ball game. But if the Navy doesn't do this and the Bearcats limit all this and get their offense on the field, the Navy is going to have a hard time staying with them. They're predicting the score to be 48-17. I can see it that way. I think Cincinnati has got enough defense to hold on, but the problem is can they handle the safety and don't get too aggressive against the option? If they get too aggressive against the option, then it's going to backfire on them because an option team can make you really pay if you overcommit on the frontier of the option because they have a lot of option reverse. So that's going to be another quorum for them. How they going to react and how they going to play the football game today. So to me, I have Cincinnati winning this ball game. It's going to be a little closer than what people thought in the first half, but I think Cincinnati breaks it out in the second half. So I think Cincinnati wins this ball game. Let's continue on. Let's look at the Wake Forest and Army game. Another good situation here. The Wake Forest has to go up to West Point, New York. It's starting to get cold up in northern New York. The stadium is built pretty nice. It's a nice stadium up there. They have pretty good. I've been to the campus on West Point. The stadium is built into a hill, so I mean they have a good stadium. So how will Wake Forest come in and handle the Army's offense? All right, Wake Forest comes in at 6-0. They got to put it in at 6-0 here. Army comes in at 4-2. Whose offense is going to win? If Wake Forest can get a run, their running gun offense going, Army's going to have a hard time staying with them. If Army gets their offense going, Wake Forest is going to have a hard time, holding them down. So which offense is going to come? Again, it's the same situation with the Navy against Cincinnati. It's going to be the same situation with Army against Wake Forest. Army has to win a time for possession. They have to move the ball. They have to drive. They have to keep Hartman off the field for Wake Forest. If Wake Forest's offense gets on the field, it's going to be an explosive day for Wake Forest because I don't think Army's defense has got enough time to hold the Army. The Army defense on hold Wake Forest offense. Wake Forest defense is pretty good. So if they play option assignment football, they can come out on this ball game. This game is at 12 o'clock. It's at West Point. CBS Sports Network is carrying this game. Wake Forest offense should have enough consistency pop to force Army out of his comfort zone. That's going to be a key too in their defense. Army will have to blitz in this ball game, and Army does not like to blitz. They like to play that zone pressure defense. They like to get the pressure with the front four and drop 8 or 9 people in pass coverage. That's what they're hoping to do today. But Wake Forest is going to have to force you to blitz because you give Hartman enough time to pick your defense apart, he will pick you apart. That's how good Hartman is. Can Hartman produce enough, and can Army get out of their comfort zone and blitz them? That's going to be a top-tier question. I think Wake Forest has been averaging over 400 yards total offense. Um, machine. They shut them down after getting up big in openers against Old Dominion. The attack works fast. Should be able to push the Army secondary for the full 60 minutes. The Demon Deacons defense is outstanding at getting into the backfield. Is excellent at forcing Texas takeaways, and the Army's ground game will work. Wake Forest gave up 354 yards rushing yards through tough wins over Syracuse and allowed 200 yards to Louisville in the ground game the week before. So the ground game for Army is their strongest point. If Wake Forest cannot stop that ground game and he start letting Army get these 300, 400 yards rushing and take time control, that's going to be very concerning for Wake Forest. So Wake Forest defense has to stop the run today. They have to stop the run. That's going to be the key. They have to stop the run today. If you look at Army against the killer Wisconsin run defense. The team lost when it didn't dominate Ball State, but it should be able to control the clock. It hold the ball for more than at least 38 minutes against Ball State, and it on third down. So which team is going to be? Is it going to be the team that Wisconsin destroyed, or is it going to be the team that Ball State played effectively? Army played effectively against. So that's going to be the key here. What's going to happen in this ball game? Army will have to work really hard to dominate the ground game. That's going to be the key for Wake Forest. If they can stop Army not dominating the ground game, they do that, and they get their offense on a run and gun shoot against Army's defense. Army's going to have to force the blitz, get out of their comfort zone. They don't like the blitz. They like to play that zone defense, put 7-8 men in that passing zone, and let them try to pass rush to the floor. But I don't think the floor is going to get up in the Wake Forest offensive line. I think they will have to bring 5 or 6, people from the blitz. And if they do that, Wake Forest can pick you apart because you're going to end up playing man-to-man defense, and Army does not like to play man-to-man defense. So that's going to be a key here. Wake Forest has only allowed more than 210 yards rushing a year. Yards once it has its passing, strike quickly and keep the Black Knights offense on toes. That's going to be a predict. They're predicting the score to be 27-17. I kind of agree with that score. Wake Forest is favored by 3. Over and under is 52.5. I think you will see it be under that 52.5. So if you're betting, you should go under here. Take Army in the points. Will this game be? Wake Forest needs to keep this game going. They need to keep the undefeated streak because when they get that NC State quorum and stuff like that, that's going to be a good game. Wake Forest always gives North Carolina State problems. That's going to be where we see in the climax in the Atlantic Division right now. Can Wake Forest stay on top of the Atlantic Division? This is not a conference game. This is an overall game, but this is going to be a psyche game for Wake Forest. If Wake Forest loses, what kind of psyche do they come in to that when they do decide to go up against North Carolina State in the Atlantic Division of the ACC? So that's my take. I get Wake Forest win. I think it's going to be 27-17. I think it's going to be a 10-point game because Wake Forest Army's offense has got enough power when they're running game to try to score at least 17 points in this game. And they're probably going to strike early. It's probably going to take Wake Forest to after halftime to try to put this game really away in the contest here. The next one interesting here is the Penn State versus Illinois matchup. I'm not keeping records of this pick 'em today because my co-host is not here. If he gets here in time to do it, we will. So, we're looking at it right now. This week will probably be a bye week for all of us here. It's not very many football games, very interesting football games, except for the UCLA and Oregon game. Probably it's one that people are saying. I think this Penn State and Illinois game is probably going to be better than what people think. This game is at 12 o'clock. It's at Beaver Stadium in University Park, Pennsylvania. It's on ABC. Penn State comes in 5-1. Illinois is coming 2-5. We know Brett Bielema record on opening day. He continued that record on opening day against Nebraska. And then they dropped a few games here, and they picked up another win on the way against Charlotte. They destroyed Charlotte, so they played another not a top tier team, and they beat them. They beat Nebraska, which is a Power 5 conference at the first game of the season. No Illinois is going to rip through the Nittany Lions, but Wisconsin, Auburn, and Iowa were at least able to get a few decent games, keep everyone honest. The real question is for Illinois is whether they can keep Penn State quarterback Sean Clifford is able to go after getting hurt against Iowa. That's going to be a key for Penn State. Is their starting quarterback going to be healthy enough to play? He got injured against Iowa, and that derailed a little bit of Notre Dame, Penn State in Iowa when they lost to Iowa because the quarterback got hurt. How will they win? Will they be able? Will Penn State be? Wisconsin was able to rip off a few nice runs, and Auburn had a couple of moments, but the Nittany Lions are only allowing 3 yards per carry on the year, haven't allowed more than 100 yards to anyone other than the Badger Tigers and Hawkeyes, and they aren't going to get gashed by Illinois. So Illinois is going to have to get the running game going. That's going to be a key issue for Brent Miller. Let's get that running game going. The offense that couldn't do anything right now when Clifford went out against Iowa isn't going to come out humming, but as long as the defense is doing their job, Penn State attack will have plenty of chances to get good field position. And that's going to be a key, too. If you don't have your starting quarterback, what you want to do is get your offense in short field position. And that's what the key of the defense of Penn State. You're going to have to turn over Illinois a lot today to get in short field, to get their offense some confidence. And you won't see Penn State's offense start going until part of the second half of the season. So that's going to be another good barometer of this game. How will Penn State offense react if they have to drive the long field? And that's what Illinois needs to do. They need to take care of the ball, punt the ball, get them and play field position game until they can get inside of the short field and let their quarterback start operating a little bit more. So whose defense is going to show up? Can Illinois' defense stop Penn State's offense on the long drives? Can Penn State's defense commit Illinois to make them where they have short field position, where they can get 7 or 3 points out of each possession? So that's the way we're going to look at this ball game today. Which side of the ball is going to play? Can Illinois stop them? Can Penn State's offense literally drive the length of the field if they have to with their backup quarterback? If Clifford is not able to go. So that's going to be the key here. Right now, no talent isn't there. Yes, Bielema has rebuilding a job to do, but the defense hasn't been all bad. It should be able to keep this from getting out of hand. I don't know. I mean, it depends on the Penn State rushing game to get going. It depends on the Illinois defense. You stop that Penn State rushing attack, force the backup quarterback to throw the ball, and you have some opportunities if their corners can pick off some plays at Penn State. If that same offense on that second half of that Iowa game shows up for Penn State, Illinois has a chance of winning this ball game today. But they're playing at home. They're playing at Penn State, playing in Happy Valley. I don't know if it's going to be a whiteout game. It should be a whiteout game because Penn State is great when everybody's wearing white, and it's called a whiteout game. So if they bring that mystique back in Penn State, it's hard to play in depth in Happy Valley up in Penn State. It's a noisy, it's 106,000 seat stadium. It's very loud. Penn State fans will be there full force. They're always there full force. Win, lose, or draw, they're there. Their fans are great. The stadium is in not really a mountain type deal, but it's there. It's in the cold. How cold will it be in Pennsylvania this time of year? We're in fall season, so it's going to start getting cooler. Penn State, I think, plays better in the cooler weather climate. So this game is going to be a little bit of a tussle to me. But I think Illinois, some people got Penn State winning 34-13. Penn State does come in a 24-point favorite. Over and under is 46. I think it's going to be under the 46.5 scoring. I think the score is going to be a little closer than what people thought. I think it's going to be 27-21. Because if Clifford doesn't play, that's the way I bring my barometer in here. Backup quarterback, because I think Illinois' defense has enough on there to keep this game in hand, but not out of hand. And I don't think Penn State's offense with the backup quarterback has enough power. With if they had Clifford in there, and that's a different story. But I mean, he's learning on the job, and the next man's up. So he had a week to practice. He had a week to get in the game. He probably had more repetition than Clifford Nelson in reps. If Nelson wasn't able to play, so it's getting a little bit better because he had a week of practice to get everything's timing down and stuff like that. So it depends on how good he comes out, and it depends on how good Penn State looks in the first quarter. If Illinois can keep this game close through the first, second quarter, then you're going to get confidence about Illinois. And we've seen what happens when they got confidence against Nebraska because they kept themselves in the ball game. They've won the game. So can Illinois do the same thing? Keep their psyche all the way up through halftime. If Penn State gets that good lead before halftime, I don't think Illinois has enough to come back in this ball game. So I have Penn State winning this ball game on top of that. So, we're getting close to the first hour is up. At the top of the hour, we'll do another break and then get back into the breakdown here segment. We're almost getting close to where I have it split up. My segment split up, so it can keep me pretty good engaged here on the ball game and keep us in time frame. We're leading you all the way up from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock kickoff time, and we're going to try to get you your first game right on time. So thanks for joining us. The next game here is 3:30 is Jack Trice Stadium, Ames, Iowa. This game is on Fox Network, Fox TV. Oklahoma State comes in at 6-0 against Iowa State at 4-2. We know what Oklahoma did. Texas got the lead on Oklahoma State last week, but Oklahoma State came back and won against Texas. They keep their undefeated streak. Teams have come close. They're going in Ames, Iowa. Iowa has not played up to their expectation they wanted to play this season. But they had a real high goal. Iowa State appears to getting back to a team that we all thought they would be getting back. They've been playing good the last few weeks. It's not time to start holding praise for just beating Kansas and Kansas State. Oklahoma State is a battle-hardened at one team to beat Baylor. Bears got by Iowa State a few weeks ago, pulled off a terrific win over Texas, helped by the continued rise of Jalen Warren. Everyone might be, fawning over Benji Robinson of Texas, and Bryce Hall is a star kick back in this. Warren is also the hottest back in the Big 12 with 4 straight 100 yards rushing, had 193 yards against the Longhorns last week. If you look at this, the Cowboys defense has been fantastic, has the makeup of style to be exactly what it needed to do in the matchup against Iowa. Does it? Iowa State. The defense has showed up from the start. Offense has problems only early on, but the rebounding fast with 4 straight games, well over 400 yards. The side is humming with the balance and with their 200 yards passing and rushing in the last 3 games. Can Oklahoma State stop the running and the passing? I mean, they did pretty good against Texas, but Texas still got the ball up and down the field a little bit. The don't break, don't bend defense, worked for Oklahoma State against Texas. Did Texas give Iowa State a blueprint to beat Oklahoma? Yes, I think they did. I think Iowa State has the blueprint, but can Iowa State execute that blueprint? Can Iowa State play the full 60 minutes? Texas did not play the full 60 minutes in that game. You have to play a full 60 minutes game against this Cowboy team of Oklahoma State. They have the heart, they have the grit, they have the chance, and they've been battle tested. That's 4 things. 4 things right there. They have the heart, they have the ability, they have the fortitude, and they have the heart of a lion. They have the 4 keys that you want of a football team. You play to win. You grind it out. You play with heart. You play all 60 minutes. That's all your coach asks you for. You play with tenacity. You play with heart. You play with grit. And you play the full 60 minutes of college football. If you do all 4 of those things right, Oklahoma State can come out with the victory. If you only do 2 out of the 4 right, and the other 2 goes over to Iowa State, they're playing at home. They've been playing good the last 3 games, over 400 yards offense, 200 yards passing, 200 yards rushing. If they have that balanced attack today and they get you off scheme and keep your offense on bay, Iowa State could come out and pull this victory out. This is going to be a close game. I think this is going to be a hard-fought ball game. Iowa State is favored. It's unbelievable. Iowa State is favored in this ball game by 7 points. The over and under is 47 in this ball game. Oklahoma State, if some scores are predicting Oklahoma State 23, Iowa State 20. I have it the other way around. I think it's going to be Iowa State 23, Oklahoma State 20, with Iowa State kicking the winning game field goal in this ball game. So I have Iowa State actually winning this ball game here today. I know we're supposed to go into break here. I got one more game in the first half of this day, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll get into the schedule, and then we'll pick some teams that we're not really going to break down, and then we'll get back to the breakdown of this show. This is the ASAP College Breakdown show on the ASAP Network, the Fox D platform. We're still having a little bit of technical issue on the Fox D side of the house right now. We're going to get into the Oregon UCLA game. This game is at 3:30. It's at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California, ABC. Oregon comes in at 5-1. UCLA comes in 5-2. You have the former coach at UCLA that was coaching Oregon. Now, the question is, how is Oregon going to match up against UCLA today? With the Doug State to play like they're supposed to. They have been all that great over the last 3 weeks, but they have managed to win 2 of the 3 games, getting by in a fight against Cal last Friday. Their final hope of the Pac-12 in the college playoffs chase starts today. For all of the problems and inconsistency on the offense, has managed to run the ball over 200 yards each of the last two games, and was decently balanced against the Bears. So if they get balanced, they get running, and they get that fast-paced offense going, Chip Kelly is going to have to find a way to slow Oregon down today. If they get in the running battle, I think Oregon has enough to beat UCLA in that running style game. For all the good things UCLA has done to get the 5 wins, the pass defense is last in the Pac-12, allowing 290 yards per game. Oregon quarterback Anthony Brown has been up and down and much maligned, but he's coming off a 244 yards a day, hitting 71% of his passes against Cal. Most important for this is how they're going to start. Can they start mistake-free? Can UCLA force mistakes against Oregon? Oregon does not do good when they throw interceptions or they turn the ball over. Short field position is going to help UCLA in this ball game. How many times would he start in short field position? Can UCLA defense match up with Oregon? That's going to be the good question. Oregon's run defense might be their major strength in their defense, but a few teams were able to keep pounding away, keep pushing. Arizona was able to give it a shot, ran for over 200 yards. Ohio State and Cal averaged over 4 yards per carry, and now UCLA's running game has to come in with an attitude. That's the key for UCLA. Can UCLA and Chip Kelly come in with the attitude, with an attitude? That's going to be the forte of Chip Kelly. Can they come in here with an attitude to run the ball? They're playing in Pasadena, California, so they're going to have the home crowd on their side. Oregon's on the road. Oregon went to Stanford and lost, on a controversial call. I mean, I think that still was not pass interference in the end zone. They helped Stanford win the game. Can Zach Charbonnet has rushed over 100 yards in the last 5 games, in the 5 of the last 7 games, coming off a season high of 131 yards a day against Washington, against the Huskies. Even it is not tearing off the big dashes, coming up with a few yards on the first and second down. It's enough. Oregon defense is lousy on third down. So that's going to be a good that's going to be a good barometer too. How is Oregon defense going to be good on third down? If they can force Chip Kelly out on 3 and outs, then we're going to have a good day. Oregon will have a good day. Can they do that? That's going to be the problem. Can Oregon win on third down? That's going to be the key because they are very lousy on third down offense. But if UCLA can manage it, a 3rd and 3, a 3rd and 4 type T, how would that Oregon defense battle in that third down position at 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2? Can they force UCLA to punt if they get them in that short field position? That's going to be the key for Oregon to get off the field. They have to get off the field on third down, and which they have been lousy of this year. So that's going to be good. This isn't your normal Chip Kelly offense that goes 1,000 miles per hour. It will control the clock for stretches, and this controlling the game, making Oregon press matters. If they can control the game on time possession, it's going to force Oregon to do that up tempo and force some mistakes that Oregon. Can they force the mistakes? That's going to be the key. Can they force the mistake? That's going to be the key for UCLA in this ball game. What do we expect that might happen in this ball game? Oregon will push through in the second half after a fun back and forth fight in the first. It looks like this game is going to be the Ducks we're waiting for. The defense will show off the talent, athleticism to hold against the run as the game goes on, and it's a positive momentum breaker. UCLA is favored by 1.5 in this game. Oregon, they said Oregon is going to win 30-24. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a higher scoring game than that. I think it's going to be 35-30. I think Oregon does come out with the victory at the end. So I have Oregon winning this ball game here. So we're going to get ready to go into the break here. Some more words from our Fox D network. So stand by.
This is the Fox D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at foxdnetwork.com.
Welcome back to the ASAP College Sports Network. We are here live in Jacksonville, Florida, in the studios of the College Sports Network. So we are getting ready to break down some more college football games here on Saturdays. I want to go ahead and break up the schedule here of today's games while we're doing that. So we can go off some more games here that we haven't really going to showcase here today on this broadcast. So I want to get into some more outlooks of the college football world and get you some more games information up here. Today, like I said, my colleague is not here today, so we're not gonna do the pick 'em per se. I'm gonna pick the games, but I'm gonna keep track of them until he comes back. Hopefully he'll be back next weekend. So let's get into today's games here in the standings here. Let me bring up the ways you can watch this network here. Down streaming on the bottom, you can see where all platforms that we're on that you can get to. So we're gonna bring that up here. Let's see here. Let me get some going here on this thing here. Alrighty. Let me see here. Bring that down. So I mean, we got a lot of activities going here today on the show. So let's go here. We have today's game, we already talked. Number 3, Oklahoma and Kansas. I think Oklahoma is going to destroy Kansas. Kansas is not that good. They're going into Lawrence, Kansas today at 12 o'clock. I think Oklahoma will win that game. We're going to be talking about, we already talked about the Illinois Penn State game. We already gave you that prediction. We already talked about the Wake Forest game. Arkansas Pine Bluff versus at Arkansas. I think Arkansas is going to kill Arkansas Pine Bluff. I think Arkansas is that good. They didn't show it against Georgia. They lost to Ole Miss by 1 point. UMass going into Florida State. You got the old offensive coordinator in Bell at UMass going into Florida State. Florida State's been playing good the last 2 weeks. This is going to be a closer game than I anticipated, but I think Florida State is going to come out on top with that running style quarterback who's been playing great for Florida State. Kansas State at Texas Tech. The Red Raiders high octane offense against a slow pace. Kansas State, I think Texas Tech has enough. I think Texas Tech is going to win at home. Eastern Michigan and Bowling Green. I think Bowling Green will take this at home. It's going to be closer than what people think. I think they win by 3 points in this ball game. Northern Illinois is at Central Michigan. I think Central Michigan, this is going to be a great game here at 12 o'clock, high noon. This is going to be on ESPNU if you want to watch it. I think this is going to be a fast pace. I think it's going to be a back and forth running game. Who's got the best running game here? I think Illinois could come in and upset them in there. But I think Central Michigan holds off 27-24. They win about 3. Syracuse has been playing excellent, some good football here in the last, up to a point where they can win games. They're running attack, but they're going to go in Lane Stadium. I think Virginia Tech's coming and beat up a little bit in the quarterback position, but he played great. He didn't play so hot against Pittsburgh. I think they're going to come back. I think Virginia Tech bounced back. I think this is going to be a closer game than people think. I think the score is going to be 27-24. Virginia Tech wins on the last-second field goal at Lane Stadium, and the Sam Ambo playing loud at the beginning of the game here. Kent State at Ohio. This is going to be a great game. I think Kent State can go in Ohio and win, but I think Kent State will win. I think Kent State wins big, 27-10 in this ball game. Texas Tech and Georgia State. I think Georgia State is okay football team. Texas Tech. Texas State, I think they're playing in Georgia. I think Georgia is going to win this ball game. I think it's going to be 21-18, the final score in this game. We'll be talking about the Purdue. We already talked about the Oklahoma. We already talked about the UCLA game. Rice and UAB. I think UAB is I think Rice has got a strong offensive running game. I think UAB has got enough power at home to stay. This game is at 3:30 on ESPN Plus. If you want to watch this game, I think it's going to be a very good game. I think UAB wins 27-20 in this ball game. Maryland and Minnesota. This could be a toss-up game. Depends on how Maryland's quarterback Tagovailoa plays today. If they turn the ball over and Minnesota gets capitalized on short field positions, I think Minnesota can win. But they're playing in Minnesota. I think Minnesota does win. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be 28-25 Minnesota in this ball game. Miami, Ohio going into Ball State. I think Ball State will win this ball game playing at home. Western Michigan and Toledo. I think Toledo could do this at home. I think they got enough. I think the Rockets has enough against the Western Michigan team, and I think they will win big at home. I think it'll be 35-10 Toledo. Buffalo goes into Akron. I think Buffalo's a little bit better team than Akron. Akron has been playing good football the last few weeks, even though they're losing here, but they've been in games. I think this game is going to be pretty good. I think Buffalo comes into Akron, and I think they beat Akron 28-20. Colorado at California. California's been played good the last few weeks. Colorado's been playing a little bit better, but I think this game is in Bearcat country. I think Bearcats win 28-25. New Mexico goes into Wyoming. So I look at this ball game here. I look at Wyoming. I look at New Mexico and Wyoming game. I think Wyoming plays better at home. It plays at home. New Mexico has not been playing great football on the road. I think Wyoming takes this game 35-10. Michigan State at Vanderbilt. I think Michigan State's a little bit is way better than Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's is in a rebuilding process. Been the rebuilding process. They're like a Duke Blue Devil football team in the SEC type team. I think Michigan State goes into Vanderbilt. I think they pull out the win. 35-10 Vanderbilt. Mississippi State, I'm sorry. The last one I'm going to pick for right now would be Liberty at North Texas. So I think Liberty goes into North Texas and wins against Seth Treadwell's team. I think Hugh Freeze has got a better team in Liberty. I think Liberty goes into North Texas and win 45-10 Liberty. So let's get back into the into the process here of getting all our teams and stuff like that. So I'm going to bring over this my next set of teams here, and we're going to go with the UCLA and now LSU and Ole Miss game here. This game is at 3:30. It's at Hemingway Stadium in Oxford, Mississippi. Game's on CBS. LSU comes in at 4-3. Ole Miss comes in at 5-1. And we know what LSU is all about. LSU is all about that running game. If they get that running game going like they did at Florida and that little bit of a help of a passing game, LSU could come into Ole Miss and pull up an upset here. Lane Kiffin, the way they played against, up in Tennessee, the crowd, we know about the crowd history up in Tennessee, got mad, threw French mustard, threw all kinds of stuff on the field. Took about 50 seconds. They say 50 seconds. I think it was more than that. I think it was almost 20 minutes to get everything straightened out to finish out that football game. Well, Ole Miss came back and won the game. You got to give your hats off to Tennessee. They've been fighting all season long under Josh Heupel. I think they haven't quit on them. I think they have been playing excellent football game. They've been in just about most all their games and stuff like that. So, you got to get your hats off to Ole Miss going in there and winning in Knoxville. They're playing in the confines of the home crowd. What do we see here? We don't know if they look the way they did against Florida. LSU does. It's going to be a good game. And it's going to be LSU. I mean, if LSU get that running game going, he has another breakout record-breaking game, and he rushed for over 300, 400, 500, 300, 400 yards in this ball game, Ole Miss is going to be in trouble. And that's what LSU needs to do. They need to keep Ole Miss offense on the sideline as much as possible today. That means they're going to have to drive. They're going to have to drive long. They're going to have to drive the long field. They're going to have to drive along, what I want to put it here. LSU needs to drive the field. LSU needs to put points on the board when they get the football. They need to go up and down the field with them. They can't go. They need to go time. They need to win time possession. LSU does. LSU needs to win the rushing game. Passing game, he needs to have no mistakes. Play mistake free. Play the field position game. Their defense is going to have to come up big and stop Ole Miss's quarterback and their running attack and their passing attack because he's a balanced guy. He can run the ball. He can pass the ball. So he's a little bit of trouble back there for LSU's defense. So they're going to have to. What they have to do is they're going to have to rush their defensive ends, but tell their defensive ends not to take a sharp end, rush up the field, and come back down. And that's how you stop running quarterbacks. And I don't understand why teams don't do these techniques. These techniques are done there specifically to keep teams to getting them off the field. And that means what I mean about that is this is what I mean. I mean, the defensive ends on both sides have to rush up the field and come back in. Because what you want to do is you don't want the running quarterback to pill out on the other side of your defensive end. If you rush up the field and come back to him, he has to rush underneath. But guess what? You got inside help coming because you're rushing your defense end up because he's coming on the backside. So he can catch him from the backside because he already knows where he's going. So That's what your techniques have to be on your defensive ends. Your defensive end has to come up the field and then come back down on the running quarterback. Force the running quarterback to stay in the tackle box. Stay in that tackle box because you have help on the inside. If your quarterback gets on the outside and resets that edge, that's when you have a lot of problems when running quarterback. So LSU, to me, has to rush the defensive ends up the field and back to the quarterback, force the quarterback to stay within that pocket, and make him beat with your arms, with his arm. And I think that's going to be the game plan for Echelon and the LSU Tigers. And I think they need to have that technique down perfectly here today. Because if they don't, he gets on the outside. He's very fast, very capable of dominating your team. So that's going to be a good question. If LSU coming off the hangover in Florida after beating Florida, can they get the same position they were in against Florida with the rushing attack, that kind of trait? How would Ole Miss counteract that kind of trait? Would they slash will they angle their tackle so they can't get the zone blocking on them? Will they do a lot of stunts to disrupt their running attack? Because if you do a lot of stunts, you have to pick up everybody that's on that front. And then sometimes you can stunt right into their running attack and stop their running game. That's going to be the key for Ole Miss. It's not like LSU defense is a whole heck of a lot to stop the Florida's offense, but check that. We're 4 massive takeaways to offset the season's high, 488 yards allowed. Corral has only thrown 1 pick so far this season. That's the key. He has thrown only 1 interception today. Only 1 interception so far. Florida threw 4 interceptions in that ball game. Gave LSU's offense short field. That's what LSU drives off of. Their defense drives off of turning you over and giving their offense short field to take up that running game and an ineffective passing game they have. Whatever passing game they have, they have to be the short field. The short field position got what LSU beat Florida in last week. If they do the same thing to Ole Miss, this could be an LSU victory today. Will it happen? I don't know. I haven't made my decision yet. I'm still trying to classify what I want, how I think this game is going to go. But Corral got beaten up last week against Tennessee. He had 30 carries for the franchise guy who can't get hurt. Might have has something to do with that, but the offense should be able to produce no matter what. The Rebels have a backup in Snoop Connor, Jordan Early, and Henry Parrish Jr. to rotate for a ground game that should have more success than Florida did. But Kentucky ran for 330 yards on the Tigers defense, and UCLA ripped 210 yards this season against the Tigers defense front. The Tigers defense front is good enough to lock down, but the Rebels work quickly enough to keep everyone moving. That's going to be the key. Can the Ole Miss offense speed up this LSU defense? Can they have their way down the field? Ole Miss is playing with fire. It got out of alive on final plays against Arkansas there, but for a wee bit more accuracy by Joe Milton, maybe not running out of bounds at the very end, Lane Kiffin and the Rebels wouldn't have to deal with the fans on the field instead of just throwing golf balls and mustard bottles. Woo! That's big right there. Throwing golf balls at Lane Kiffin and mustard bottles. I think that was rude, disrespectful, not good sportsmanship. I'm glad Tennessee got fined to $250,000 for it. It puts a precedent. You cannot bring stuff and throw on the field. If you're displayed with the referees, I understand that. But it don't force you to throw the mustard bottles, throw stuff on the field to disrupt the game and to get play stopped. I mean, if you look at it, that really cost you the game in that instance. I'm surprised they didn't throw a penalty because they have it in the rule. I think they have it in the rule books that you could throw a penalty for delay a game for the crowd. And they didn't do it. They didn't penalize Tennessee. I think they should have. I think they should have penalized Tennessee 15 yards on it. because they disrupted the game. They delayed the game. I mean, it's just really in disrupt and the bad sportsmanship. It sets a bad precedent for your University of Tennessee. But Lane Kiffin got out with the skin of his teeth in that victory, though. Ole Miss is coming in a 9.5 favorite. Over and under 76. I think you still can go under on this one. I don't think it's going to get to 76. Some team says it's going to be a high-scoring game. Ole Miss 40, LSU 34. I believe it's going to be the opposite. I think LSU is going to control the ball a little bit more, control the offense. I think Ole Miss will get at least 35 points, but I don't think LSU will get probably more than 28. I think it's going to be 35-28 Ole Miss over LSU in this ball game. The next contest will be the Clemson and Pittsburgh game. This game is at 3:30. It's in Heinz Field in Pittsburgh on ESPN. Clemson comes in at 4-2. Pitt comes in 5-1. Clemson's defense is the better. Is better on thing, but their offense is ferocious. Pitt needs to jump out on quick like they did against Virginia Tech. If they jumped on again, I mean, if you look at the Clemson defense, still works. The offense has a few issues, but the defense side has yet to allow 400 yards. Run defense has been great. The pressure defense has only got hit for 300 yards in the loss in North Carolina State. For all this disappointment, all the problems across the board, the Tigers are still number one in the ACC in pass efficiency defense. They're great at holding up in the red zones. They're only allowing more than 14 points once. On the other side of it is bad. The offense has been struggling, being mediocre. It has not been putting up any points in this game. If Pitts gets their offense rolling, Pickens gets rolling, this game could be getting out of hand for Clemson. This could be a worse opposite loss than Clemson thinks. I think Pittsburgh is really going to come in and play this game the way they need to play. They're not going to worry about Clemson's efficiency on offense. They think this is the Clemson team that is going to be really going to be good. So I think we're going to see this. I think we're going to really see Clemson right here keep the game close with a defense, but they can't put points on the board. If they can't match Pitt's points percentage, Pitts has been putting points on the board here today. In the last game, when they put up 45-23 or something like that. So I mean, if you look at it this way, Pitts is 3.5 favorite. They're playing at home. The over and under is 48. Clemson, they're predicting Pitt's going to win 23-20. I don't think Clemson can get enough 20 points on the board. I think Clemson gets 14 on the board, but I think the score is going to be 23-14 Pitt. I think Pitt will beat Clemson today. If you look on the flip side, Kenny Pickett's passing game has been tremendous. He's coming off his worst game of the year, throwing only 2 for 3, 2 to 3 yards after throws for over 300 against everyone else. And the offense should stretch out and test the Clemson defense from the start. Panthers defense is good enough. It has tad inconsistency, but the pass and rush is once again a killer, and it's nasty on third down against the offense that can get the chains moving. So that's your kind of a setup here in this game for this matchup and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be kind of if you look at the Clemson, what is going on with Clemson's offense? I mean, is it the quarterback position is not really telling? I know they lost a lot with Trevor Lawrence. I know they lost Travis Etienne. They lost Rodgers at the wide receiver spot, but they have good wide receivers. But the quarterback isn't. I mean, he's not playing like he did when he came in against Notre Dame last year. I mean, he had a good game, and now we thought he was going to be okay after Trevor Lawrence left. But now he's degressed. He's not progressed. He degressed. What is the situation going on with Clemson offense? Can Clemson offense generate enough points, enough willpower to keep the ball moving and keep that defense off the field? If that defense gets on the field a lot, Pitt's going to run them. It's going to wear them down. And that's when Pitt's going to take over in that fourth quarter. And that's where they're going to win this game at. So, I mean, can Clemson offense generate more than 14 points in this ball game against this nasty Pittsburgh defense? That's going to be the I want to hear something from the Clemson fans here. You go to our Facebook page, go to the comment section, comment. I will put the comments up here on the comments section. If you have any comments you want to talk about or anything like that, you post it up there. We'll get the information to you with some feedback. So if you want to interact with us, you go to our Facebook page. It's streaming live down at the bottom of the tickler. Go there. You post your comments. We can pull your comments up. Just like that. We can pull your comments up just like that. This is the only wish is about the Atlanta Braves comment I made early in the telecast because he's a Dodgers fan. I'm a Braves fan. So, it's good to harmless. He's one of the analysts on the network too. So if you look at that situation there, what kind of situation are we going to look at here? We'll go ahead and bring in the Ohio State Indiana game. This is the one that's going to end it. This is an interesting one here. This game is at 7:30. It's at Memorial Stadium in Bloomington, Indiana. ABC. Ohio State's 5-1. Indiana's 4-2. What kind of game are we going to look at here for this? Indiana had a good year last year. They're coming in this year with, with some smaller aspect. I mean, if you look at this, Indiana offense isn't there. It was fun against Idaho. It worked okay against Western Kentucky University. But in the Big Ten play, it scored a grand total of 21 points in 3 games. Granted, the Hoosiers faced Iowa, Penn State, Michigan State, but it's not like Ohio State is a week off, even with the defense is mediocre defense. On the flip side, Ohio State offense is the most productive in college football. It was 5 yards away from 500 yards in the opener versus Minnesota and cranked it up well over 5 bills against everyone else. Since quarterback C.J. Stroud has settled in, he's playing like at a Heisman level at stat-wise. Trey Vernon Henderson might be the best running back in college football, and Indiana doesn't have any prayer of keeping up sort of pace if the Buckeyes machine gets rolling early. That's going to be the key. How is the psyche of Indiana is going to keep up this ball game in the defensive realm and keeping Ohio State off the field often? What the Indiana defense needs to do, you got to put pressure on C.J. Stroud. Got to force him in making mistakes. Defensive corners got to have to play well. They're going to have some interception. Indiana's going to have some short field positions to get some offensive production to get this game going into the way of Indiana's way. They're playing in Bloomington, Indiana. So they got the home crowd, thing. But Ohio State has played good, on the road too. So Indiana have to win. Ohio State defense is a whole lot better now that is not dealing with Oregon, but it's still a big suspect. So the mediocre defense for Ohio State, can the mediocre defense of Ohio State hold up against Indiana's offense? Granted, most teams are throwing to try to keep up the pace, not doing a great job of it. But Akron is the only team that couldn't get a 200-yard through the air against Ohio State. Indiana can't make this sort of a shootout. Time of possession won't matter that much since the Buckeyes can go on a one-play scoring drive at almost any time, but controlling the clock as much as possible matters. The Hoosiers are good in time possession battles over the defense has done in its part to keep games alive. No one has gauged them yet, with Cincinnati being held to 328 yards and keeping key points from the special team. What do we see here? What do y'all think that Indiana's problem is from what they had last year to this year? I mean, it's 1 year they went from having a good football team now deprogressing back to a team that is in a mediocre style. I mean, is it just because of the crowds in the stadiums now? The pandemic helped them a little bit. That's where we won it from last year. Can they stand toe to toe with Ohio State? Can their defense knock out Ohio State's offense a little bit, slow them down? I mean, you have to outscore Ohio State right now because our defense is mediocre. I mean, Ohio State's defense is mediocre. If you can put points on the board and you can win the time of possession against Ohio State, you can have a chance to upset them this year. Um, Ohio State comes in with a 21 favorite. The over and under is 60.5. Some people are saying Ohio State is going to win 41-17. I think it's going to be a little bit more than that. I think it's going to be 48-20. I think Indiana can put 20 points up, but I don't think Indiana's defense can keep Ohio State off the scoreboard. I think they're going to score them often not, and then they'll slow it down in the fourth quarter because they'll have a big lead by the time the fourth quarter comes around in this ball game. So, the next game I want to talk about here will be the interesting take here on the North Carolina State and Miami game. This game is down in at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. This game is at 7:30. ESPN2. North Carolina State comes in at 5-1. They lost to Mississippi State early in the season. Miami comes in at 2-4, coming off the loss to the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill on a 45-42 victory by North Carolina. The strong point for this team is the defense is doing a phenomenal job of generating stops to get off the field for North Carolina State. Number one in the nation generating third down stops. The Wolfpack only allow 11 out of 33 conversions over the last two games, and they're still giving up 25% on the year. Miami's defense doesn't generate those stops on third downs and is coming up with enough big plays in periods. The offense needs any sort of help it can get without Derek Queen around. And the other side, it just isn't getting the job done. On the flip side, North Carolina State leads the ACC in total defense, just coming up with a takeaway by the Hurricanes defense, I suppose. If you look at this Ram here, if you look at it here, what does Miami have to do? And then this is the interesting thing. I think Miami gave North Carolina State bulletin board material with the quarterback coming out. Van Dyke coming out saying what he did in North Carolina State, saying that they have enough to stop him. I think he said that he's going to be better than he was against North Carolina now, and he's going to give North Carolina State trouble. I think he just gave North Carolina defense bulletin board. If North Carolina defense don't come out and play hot crap from them statements, then they don't have heart to back. But if Miami can come back and force what Van Dyke says and beat North Carolina State, I don't think it's going to happen because I think North Carolina State is better than what the Hurricanes on both sides of the ball. I think North Carolina State has the two-headed monster running backs that could get the job done. O'Leary, the quarterback, has got a good arm. He's very accurate. He got good wide receivers. I think it's going to be hard for North Carolina, for Miami to really do anything in this game. We see Miami can put up points. Van Dyke did get good in the second half of the North Carolina game. Can he keep that up going up against the North Carolina State team that does a lot of blitzing, does a lot of keeping you third and long and not letting you convert, in third down position. The key for the day game, Miami has to convert on third downs. More than what the North Carolina State averages. They have to stay in this game. Miami needs to get the wide receivers involved, get Bobo involved, get the freshman involved, wide receiver. The running back's got to have a good game. He's got to be better than what he did against North Carolina. Van Dyke's got to be more accurate than he was against North Carolina. If he does what he did in the second half of the North Carolina game, then they could be okay. But North Carolina State's defense is another line right now. I mean, with the key injury to Wilson, he's out. We have some more key injuries. They had players that come in and stuffed up. So they got really good depth on that defensive side. Can Bam Knight and Person be the dual-headed running backs that they have been in the last few weeks? Can O'Leary do what he keeps doing now? Can the offensive line keep O'Leary protective? They have been doing that all season. He hasn't got injured this year. He hasn't finished the last 2 years because the offensive line of North Carolina State wasn't that stout. They got some good players this year. At the offensive line, they've been keeping them healthy, not taking up too many hits. Can Miami turn up the pressure, get to O'Leary? Can they stop the running game in North Carolina State? I think the two-headed monster in North Carolina State is a little bit better than what people believe. I think North Carolina State's offense is a little bit better than what people believe. The defense is getting better. The defense got stronger with some key outs. Next people have stepped up. Can all this still be working for North Carolina State in this Miami game? Go down to Miami and win. They went up to Chestnut Hill and proved me wrong. I had them losing to Boston College, but they proved me wrong up there and they beat Boston College handily. Can they go down to Miami and beat them handily too? I mean, we know the troubles Miami's are in without De'Aaron King. King came back, thought he could be better. He got injured, shoulder rotated cuff. He had to have surgeries out for the year. So what can Van Dyke do as a freshman? I mean, you got a little bit of game films. You got like 3 or 4 game films now. You can put pieces together what he capable of. Can the unknown for Van Dyke against the Wolfpack's defense in the first 2 quarters keep them in the game, and then the Wolfpack takes over in the third, makes adjustment in the third and fourth quarter. That's going to be the key for North Carolina State. The over and under in this game, North Carolina State's favored by 3.5. I think that's ridiculous. They're predicting it's going to be North Carolina State 34, Miami 27. I don't think Miami's going to get. I don't think Miami. They got 42 last week, but I mean, if you look at it that way, cut the differential in half. That's what they did, and NC State scored 34 last week. They kept it at 34 this week. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than what people think. I think it's going to be 34-31. I think North Carolina State wins the ball game on a last second field goal. I think Miami is just going to keep it around because they're playing at home. They play better at home than they do on the road. So we'll see how that goes here. I have North Carolina State winning 34-31 in this ball game. Next game we're going to get into here will be the Alabama and Tennessee game. We're going to take a break here. I'm going to do a little bit more commercial breaks here, and then we'll be right back on the ASAP College Breakdown on the ASAP Sports, all sports, all play network.
This is the Fox D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at foxdnetwork.com.
Welcome back to the ACE All Sports All Play College Breakdown Show on the All Sports All Play Network. Here, we still have a little bit of technical difficulties on the Fox D network. It still hasn't got us back on yet. So we're on the other platforms. We're on the All Sports All Play YouTube. We're on the All Sports All Play Twitch channel. We're on the All Sports All Play Facebook. If you haven't gone to our YouTube channel, please go over to our YouTube channel. Click subscribe. We need some more subscribers on our YouTube channel. All the people that has liked our Facebook, go jump over to our YouTube and like and subscribe there so we can get everybody on that ability over there too on the YouTube side. So, we have all the platforms covered here on the All Sports All Play Network on the ASAP College Breakdown Show. I'm Ray Cruz. Usually we have Dre Montez with us. He's not here today. So we're going to continue on to the best ability where we are. We have a great show going here. We go from 9 a.m. to kickoff time at noon on Saturday. Every Saturday, we're live here starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, and 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time if you want to get up early enough to watch us. This is the best premier pregame show on any platform. So we try to do our best here on the A7 Sports Network to bring you best contents and things. We got a lot of new shows coming around in event pictures. Stay tuned. We're starting to get articles on our all on the ASAP Sports Network.com, our website. You can go there. We have a few articles up for the NFL. We have a few articles up for the NBA, and we have one for the Rough Nation MMA type style fighting. Our own colleague Jay Nesbitt's articles. He wrote some articles about Trevon Diggs for the Dallas Cowboys. He wrote an article about the last year's finals run by the Phoenix Suns. He wrote an article about the Rough Nation prediction of the Rough Nation Rough 44 in Phoenix card. So go there. There's some good contents there. We're revamping some of the some of the show pages up on the network. Still continue adding those on as we get them built here. So we're still up and coming on our website, but we have a lot more content coming in the near future. So go to our, thing. It'll stream across here momentarily. The next game we get into is the Alabama versus Tennessee game. This game is at Disney Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Game's on ESPN. Is at 7:00. 6-1 Alabama versus the 4-3 Tennessee. This is a fight. This is a fighting Tennessee team who has been battling out this year. The Vols has ran for close for 460 yards against Missouri. It was well balanced win over South Carolina, and 467 yards in the wild, crazy Palmer-Matic in the closing loss to Ole Miss. They have hit 200 yards rushing and passing in 4 of the last 5 games. They are going to need to be a versatile, and fearless as possible against the Tide's defense that figures out the running game after getting cranked by Florida a month ago. So they're getting better. Alabama's getting better on the rushing game. So that's not a good look for Tennessee because Tennessee likes to rush the ball a little bit too. And combine the offensive speed and quickness with the diversity pass rush that should hurry Bryce Young. And the Vols might just have the formula to make this an interesting game. That's what they are saying here. Alabama's only allowed over 300 yards twice this season. Once was in the close call against Florida, and the second was in the loss of Texas A&M. Tennessee has yet to come up with fewer than 374 yards rushing. That's going to be a key for Alabama defense. The Alabama defense could stop the Russian attack. That's going to be a good call there. Can Hayden Hooker make plays offensively like he did at Virginia Tech? He did make some good plays, but he's hurt and he might be iffy for this. But at the best, Joe Milton from the Michigan Trad, he came in and played pretty good towards the end too with passing the ball. He has all the tools on the upside. Can he get better? Can he be better than what they want, what they have? Either way, Tennessee is, despite their hurry up style, tries to gas opposing defense, and awful at keeping the quarterback from getting pops. Part of that is because Hooker and Milton moves, but it's also because of the offensive line. That's going to be the key. Can the offensive line for Tennessee be better to be a better protector against Alabama? I don't think so. I think Alabama's defense's front 7 is great. I think Alabama's defense is going to get pressure on Milton or Hooker. I think this is going to be a game that Alabama needs to blow out Tennessee. Can Tennessee, though, have the heart and the defense keep them in there? I'm going to tell you, if Tennessee can keep this ball game around all the way up to halftime, that's going to give Tennessee confidence in the second half to do much more what they can do. And can Tennessee upset Alabama? I don't think so. I think Alabama's going to take this ball game, and I think it's going to be pretty big here. I think Alabama is perfectly equipped to get into the backfield. And fourth fight with Bryce Young playing at a Heisman level. Brian Robinson is rising up as one of the better backs in college football, but the offense is averaging close to 550 yards over the last 4 games. Bama has won 14 straight going back to 2006, and 12-10 victory in 2009 was the only close battle. At least this year, Tennessee team seems like it's more ammunition to bring, but just how sharply focused is Alabama? Is not. It got everything back to normal against Mississippi State. It was almost flawless early on against Ole Miss to put away a game 35-0. Can Tennessee be withstand the early punch? No, it's all caused a whole slew of problems. The balls will score enough to at least make the Tide keep pushing, but the interception turnovers will come. Bama leads the SEC in turnover margin. Just the running game takes over full time. Alabama's favored by 25.5 at Neyland at Tuscaloosa. They played great at home. Alabama's 41 and Tennessee. They're predicting Alabama 41, Tennessee 17. I think it's going to be a little closer than that. I think Alabama will get in the 40s. I think it's going to be 41. I think Alabama will get to 41, but I think Tennessee will get at least probably about 27 to 30 points in this ball game. So I think it's going to be 41-27, 28 in this ball game, and I think Alabama wins this ball game. Tennessee's just not there yet. I think Heupel's got them in the right direction. As Heupel gets his players in the next 2 or 3 years, you might see Tennessee getting better, and we might see Tennessee on the way back up to where Tennessee football should be right now. So that's what we're looking at right now for that. So let's go into here. Let's pick up here on the schedule. Let's go through some more of the schedule here that we're not going to talk about. We just got finished the Tennessee-Alabama game. East Carolina and Houston. I think East Carolina has a team that can stay with Houston, but Houston is going to be a little bit. And I think East Carolina's not playing at home. They're playing in Houston at 4 o'clock. I think on ESPNU, I think Houston is going to win this game. I think Houston wins big, 45-10 over East Carolina. Western Kentucky at Florida International at 7 o'clock down in Boca Raton, Florida. I think Florida International is going to win. I think Florida International can win this game. Western Kentucky's been playing good, but he's been losing a few games here and there. I think Western Kentucky comes in and gives them a game, but I think Florida International could win this game. But I'm thinking the Hilltoppers will come in and play a little bit better. I think the Hilltoppers win 24-21 down in Florida International. Temple will go into South Florida. I think South Florida's been playing a little bit better football lately. Temple has been playing pretty good, but they've been losing here and there. But I think Temple could come into Tampa at Raymond James Stadium where South Florida plays. I think South Florida holds on 24-21 in this ball game. South Alabama and University of Louisiana Monroe. This is playing at University of Louisiana Monroe at 7 o'clock. This game could be seen on ESPN3. The Watch ESPN app. I think Monroe will win 34-10 on this ball game. Nevada at Fresno State. Fresno State's unranked now after losing to BYU. I think Fresno State is a pretty good team. They're playing at home. They play a little bit better at home. I think Fresno State hands the Wolfpack a loss here today. I think Fresno State will win 35-28 in this ball game. We already picked the Ohio State Indiana game. Let's see here. We'll go ahead and pick the USC Notre Dame game at Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is going to be mad because they lost to Cincinnati and Notre Dame. I think number 13 Notre Dame bounced back against USC. Is having a lot of problems. I think Notre Dame wins 28-20 in this ball game. South Carolina and number 17 Texas A&M playing in Kyle Field. I think Texas A&M handles South Carolina. I think Texas A&M wins 45-20 in this ball game. We already picked the Miami and North Carolina State game. We're going to go Georgia Tech, Virginia. I think Virginia is going to win this ball game. It's going to be a close game, 28-25 in this ball game here in Charlottesville. This is at 7:30 on the ACC channel. West Virginia will go into TCU. We're going to talk about that one here in a little bit. Utah and Oregon State. I think Utah's a better football team than Oregon State on paper. That's why they play the game. They're playing at Oregon State at 7:30. This is on the Pac-12 TV network. I think Utah could come in and win this ball game. I think Oregon State is going to keep it close. I think it's going to be a closer game than people would have thought. I think the final score is going to be 34-31 in this ball game. I think the Utes will come in and win there. Hawaii, New Mexico State, and goes into Hawaii. I think Hawaii's been playing better football. They lost a few games here and there. I think Hawaii's got a better team than New Mexico State, and they're playing in Hawaii. They got to travel from New Mexico State to Hawaii. I think the jet lag is going to have help there. I think Hawaii wins 45-20 in this ball game. So that's most of the games we already gone through. We already picked here. We still got some few games here. We're going to go into the next game here. We're going to bring into the San Diego State at Air Force game here. This game is at 7 o'clock. It's at Falcon Stadium in Colorado Springs, Colorado. How to watch this game will be on CBS Sports Network. We're looking at about here. Let's see here. How will San Diego State win this ball game? That's what we're going to look at here. We're going to break this game down a little bit here. We're going to go in a little bit of depth in this ball game than we have in thing. This is the number one. It's not always pretty. There's no margin for error, but San Diego State keeps marching on with one of the best defense in the nation. It's number one against the run, going against a team that runs the ball well. The Aztecs allow more than 100 yards for the first time all season long in a close call win over San Jose State, giving up 117 yards in a score. They're giving up just over 2 yards per carry, allowing a mere 365 yards rushing for the season, just that one touchdown for the year. Air Force can throw a little bit, but it's more efficient than with bulk yards, but it needs to win by controlling the game on the ground. That's going to be a problem against the Aztecs front seven. San Diego State defense is amazing. The offense, it's all partly by design. The offense doesn't take too many changes and doesn't open it up as much because these academies, these are military academies. That's what we're talking about here. These military academies, they don't pass the ball very well. They run the ball effectively because they don't have athletes like most other universities do, but they do have well-conditioned athletes that can run the ball, and that's what their effectively is. Because all the stuff in the military we have to run a mile and a half in a certain amount of time. We have to run, we're more physically fit. So a physical football game is more what the military academies are looking at because that's how they bring us up as a style and physical condition, because we have to be in the physical condition when we go on the battlefield. So these guys leave these academies and does end up in like Afghanistan and stuff like that. So they have to be a way of running, getting away from the enemies and being effectively moving out and longer walks and longer marches into the battlefield. So that's why we had to be more efficient in running styles. So that's why the academies are more effectively running the ball than they are passing the ball. So if you look at this, the Air Force run defense has been incredible. It's not the rock. San Diego State defense is, but it's not all that far off. It has yet allowed 200 yards rushing, has yet, 180 against Utah State was the high. The Aztecs just don't have the passing pop to pick up the slack. That's going to have to be the win for the Army. That's who they have to play their stuff. So if you look at this, they find to win the ground. They got to find a way to win the ground game. They got to hit the mark of 200 yards. It was stuffed, but 70 yards against San Jose State. That was the problem. Air Force run defense has been incredible. It's not the rock of the San Diego State's D, but it's not all that far off. It only allows 200 yards rushing, 108. Just said there. How this team is going to win here? What's going to happen here? Both game has to run. Will have to run to win, and neither team will be able to. Neither side has the big turnover issues, but the teams keep the ball for well over 30 minutes. Both teams does. So who's going to win time possession? That's going to be the key here in this ball game. The time possession will be the key here. Who's going to win that time possession of the ball game? So if you're looking at that, that's going to be a key there. I mean, what we're gonna see here in that is going to be a very highly turning key of what we see here in the near future on this. So I mean, if you're looking at that, if you're looking at the way we're looking at these games and stuff like that, how we're gonna see what college team is going to be really at its best in this ball game. It's going to be the effective way of time possession of the game, because both teams had to have the time possession. They're not a very big play type offense. They like to run the ball down the field. They like to put it in there. They like to smash mouth you. They like to hit you right in the mouth. And which team can hit better in the mouth? That's going to be the key. Air Force is a 3.5 favorite. Some people are picking an upset, 19-17. I think San Diego State wins. Close one, I think, is going to win 21-18. I think San Jose State stays where they're at right now in the rankings. So I think they're a much better team than on paper than it is with thing. How about University of Texas at San Antonio versus Louisiana Tech? UTSA comes in ranked this year. I'm going to bring up the rankings here on the banner. Down below, they rank here. I think they're ranked like number 24 in the nation now. University of Texas San Antonio is ranked in the polls. They are ranked here in the polls. So I mean, what do we see here in what do we see here in the what we claim of going here? So I'm just trying to figure out something right now. I'm looking at something right quick here on my phone to bring up something here for what we need to think about here in the latest talks here of this game. Yeah, they come in ranked number 2, down in the bottom half, ranked number 24 in the nation. They're 7-0, unbelievable. They are 7-0. I mean, this team last year wasn't even on the map. This team is now coming on the map. You see now these smaller schools are starting to come up on the map here. They play in the American Athletic Conference, UTSA Roadrunners, doing what that's so right. The line has been terrific. The ground game isn't anything amazing, but the offensive front is great in pass protection, is efficient enough for a good group of backs. The defensive front has been right against the run. Illinois has got 150 yards on the ground, but no one else has done more. Louisiana Tech lines are going to be in for a long day, and the secondary isn't going to come up with enough stops in this ballgame. That's what they're predicting here on this game here. Louisiana Tech's the Bulldogs are great at staying in games on takeaways, sort of. So UTSA has to stay away from turning the ball over. That's the key for Louisiana Tech's offense is getting to turn over the ball. They have to stay away from the turnovers. The Bulldog, Louisiana Tech lost to UTEP, but they came up with 4 turnovers, and the 4 takeaways made in the Mississippi State game kept it close. The 3 against Southeast Louisiana saved the day. The giveaways has been an issue, especially been picks from quarterback Austin Kendall, but the yards has been there. Keep bombing the test of the UTSA's secondary that allowed 523 yards against Western Kentucky, machine over 300 to both Memphis and UNLV, and they hope for a few key takeaways. That's the formula. That's that formula that Louisiana Tech likes to do. They like to turn you over. They like to produce your turnovers and the points. And if you can't turn the ball over, then Louisiana Tech is going to be in for a long day here. UTSA doesn't have a turnover problem. It only lost one turnover battle once this year, and even then, it was just a -1 in a win over Middle Tennessee. Louisiana Tech's in desperate needs of a good break, but the 19-3 Cluckers against UTEP might have been one of too many body blows. UTSA isn't going to screw up enough to let the perfect season die in Ruston. So if you look at it this way here, UTSA is a 6-point favorite. Over and under is 59. UTSA 31. Louisiana Tech's 24 is what some people are predicting. I think it's going to be a little bit higher than that. I think UTSA is going to be 45. I think Louisiana Tech is going to it's going to be right at 20. So 45-20 UTSA in this ball game. All righty. So we're going to move right along here. We're going to go to the Wisconsin and Purdue game. Wisconsin and Purdue game is up next here. We got like 4 more games to talk about here to break down. Plus this one here. This game is at 3:00. It's at Rosen A Stadium in West Lafayette, Indiana. How to watch this game is on the Big Ten Network. Wisconsin is 3-3. Purdue comes in at 4-2. What does this have to be effectively? What effectively does this have to be here? The defense continues to be incredible. The entire Badgers offense owes the other side a cookie for keeping the season alive. Holding Illinois to 93 total yards in 2 weeks ago. Stuffing Army's 179 yards rushing yards last week in a way too tight 20-14 win. For all the team's problem is number 2 in the nation in total defense behind Georgia. The team is 4th in the country in time of possession and is 3rd against the run. Purdue doesn't run, even though it controls the clock. It's not going to win the time of possession battle against this team. However, what does Purdue need to do to win their side of the ball? Wisconsin defense has a Achilles heel. It'll do everything right, but try 3 big pass plays. Two will work. That's enough to keep by considering how miserable the Badgers offense is. You don't need to be as good as Wisconsin defense without knowing how to take away the opposing main guy. But it's going to have a problem with David Bell, who has 400 yards receiving games in 5 outings, and all but ruined the Iowa season last week with 11 catches for 240 yards. So Purdue has a good wide receiver who can take over a ball game, which he did against the Iowa team, and that's why Iowa lost that game. Even more than that, Purdue has a defense too. As Iowa found out that it is a different Purdue team, the offense is fine, but it's other side of that takes over the game. It hasn't allowed 300 yards total of offense in the last 3 games. Wisconsin needs to get over the 300 threshold to beat this Purdue team. If you get over the 300 threshold, then you can beat this Purdue team. Wisconsin offense is like clockwork. It's an ability to give the ball away, but Purdue's defense, for takeaway against Iowa aside, doesn't force turnovers. The Badgers offense can't throw at all. So what you do? You blitz them. But you have to watch out for the delayed handoffs for the running back, because the Badgers running back, Messiah, has led this big kind of here. It's a college kid struggling now. Have to deal with Purdue's defensive end, George Krafnitzis. jumping on his head for four quarters. But Bill Mez has to do is not really screw it up. He doesn't have to turn the ball over. He's got to play management football. Wisconsin need to run the ball, and get that third and short where he can be a short, effective passing so that they have to go down the field these long passes. And it might give him more time to throw these little short screens against this a very active Purdue team. So if the Badgers can keep Purdue off the field, if Wisconsin can keep Purdue off the field and keep their offense on the sideline and, force their defense, force some turnovers in this ball game too, and keep Purdue under the 300 threshold, we will see a good game here. What do we see here for Wisconsin is Wisconsin's got to run, score. Run, score. Run, score. If Wisconsin can run the ball effectively with heart, don't have to worry about the passing it effectively. If he can pass the ball at least 133 yards and maybe one score, and they might have to have a score in the passing game. If they can do that, and if the Badgers defense can force some turnovers to Purdue, can hold the Purdue wide receiver in check, Wisconsin can come out with a victory at Purdue. Purdue is ranked, for the first time in a long time this season. We're looking at, a Purdue team here, coming in at number, let me see here if I can find them. I think they're ranked number 25. Yeah, they are ranked number 25 in this week's poll. So, I mean, if you look at the line here, the line has got Wisconsin a 2.5. It's a 2.5 favorite over Purdue. Purdue is a 2.5 underdog to Wisconsin. And, over and under is 40. I think this is going to be a throwback game. I think this is going to be one of these tough football games. I think Wisconsin wins the low-scoring game. If Purdue can get the scoring up to 28, 29, 30 points, then Purdue will win. But I think Wisconsin defense has got enough to keep Purdue's offense at bay. I think Wisconsin offense has enough to run and punch to keep Purdue's defense off balance. I think this is going to be a throwback game. I think Wisconsin wins a low-scoring game, 19-16. Wisconsin pulls the upset here in today's game. So, we're going to do the Michigan and Northwestern breakdown here, and then we'll turn to a break here, and then we have 2 games left up, and then we'll talk about a little bit more issues coming this way on through the later rounds here. We'll talk about hot seats and what coaches could be filling the hot seat here more this season. Michigan and Northwestern game is at 12 o'clock. It's at Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor. Michigan is on Fox TV, local channel. Michigan is 6-0. Northwestern comes in 3-3. What happened to Northwestern? They did a best thing last year against most teams. Did a good, teams that we expect did better in the pandemic. Now, when you got fans in the stands. Now we're seeing is that cause of the pandemic with no fans in the stand, they can operate their offense and no crowd noise. Northwestern defense, the offense shows up with 21-7 win over Rutgers and wasn't bad, but it was the PIS of the piss of the defense. That's what they call it. Whatever the piss of the defense. And one of the best, performers of the year. This one publication is talking about here. I look at it this way here. The first half, it was decent win over the pump the brakes. My take here is Northwestern is 3-0. We're allowing fewer than 200 yards rushing, 0-3 when allowing more. That's going to be the key barometer for Michigan. Can Michigan operate that running game? It's been effective this year. If they get over 200 yards rushing, this is going to be hard for Northwestern to handle. If they get the running game going, the play action pass is going, is this the best year? Is this going to be the best year that Jim Harbaugh has done in Michigan? that just saved Jim Harbaugh's job at Michigan this season. Time will tell because he still got Ohio State coming up, and that's going to be the test of the barometer. Can he beat Ohio State this year with this Michigan team? That's going to be a big key. If you look at Northwestern in the first half, the decent wins. They pumped the brakes on the next set, considering the other two victories were against Indiana State and Ohio. But Northwestern is, we talked about the 3-0. The run defense has been great. Quarterback Ryan Hiskey has to keep playing well. The former South Carolina Gamecock has thrown for more than 260 yards in each of the last two games and threw 3 touchdowns with no interception. But, Michigan defense, Michigan ain't Rutgers or Indiana State or Ohio. They are Michigan Wolverines. They are a top 5, Power 5 school that's going to come in here and really going to shut down. I think they're really going to shut down this team today. They're really going to shut down Northwestern. Fitzgerald don't have nothing that he can do to slow down this Michigan run attack. This Michigan run attack is going to go big. It's going to go over 200 yards. I have a feeling they're going to hit about 350 yards in this ball game. Northwestern has no way to stop that. Northwestern don't have the manpower. Northwestern don't have the offense to keep the Michigan Wolverines offense on the sidelines. Michigan's defense is going to run wild with them blitzes. Michigan's going to stop them on the run, force them to pass. And when they have to force Northwestern to pass, guess what's going to happen? They're going to unleash the dogs. The dogs are going to come in and rush. They're going to have probably about 5 or 6 sacks in this game and maybe a sack turnover for a 7. Michigan's defense is that good this year. Michigan's offense is good this year with the running attack. If they get the running game going, play action pass is going to be effective and it's going to tear up Northwestern's defense. They're playing in that big house up in Ann Arbor at Michigan Stadium. And I think Jim Harbaugh has found a formula and has found a way to make Michigan a winner. And that's where they're going to stay. I don't think this is going to be a letdown game for Michigan. I think Northwestern don't have the manpower to go up in there and beat them. So I think Michigan will take this game, and I think they will take them big. And the Michigan is favored by 23.5. The over and under is 50. Some people believe the score is going to be 38-13. To me, I believe this game right here, I think this game is going to be a big game. I won't be surprised if you see 45, 50 points by Michigan and maybe nothing, maybe 7 by Northwestern. Maybe. I don't see them getting 13 unless Michigan's defense really falters in this ball game. I think it's going to be big. I think Michigan can get at least 45 to 50 points on this game. I think Michigan's going to win 50-7 in this ball game. So we're going to get ready here. I got to see a comment here. Just one: is the Big Ten West playing better football, or is it the East? So let me get familiar. I think, to me, if you look at the Big Ten, the Big Ten procrastinate themselves on defense and running the football. And you don't really see, besides Ohio State, really effectively passing the ball here in this ball game. You're talking about the Big Ten, which one's going to be better here? Let me see. Let me look here. Right now, the East is playing better football than the West. And the reason I'm saying that, if you look at the East, you have number 9 Michigan State Spartan, Mel Tucker. He's got that team rolling. They're 4-0. Michigan State Wolverines are sitting at 3-0, 6-0 overall. Michigan State is 7-0 overall. If you look at Michigan State here, they have scored 240 points. They have only given up 131 total for this season. Michigan scored 231 points, only giving up 93 points this season. Ohio State has scored 291 points, but have given up 123 points this season. Look at Penn State. If you look at this right here, the first 4 teams in the East has winning records in the conference at 2-1. It's the only blemish that Penn State has is they lost to Iowa. But they're 5-1. They haven't scored 170, only getting up 83 points. Maryland now, you're looking at 1-2. Now you're getting to the lower half teams of the East. Now, if you look at the if you look at the West, you had number 11 Iowa 3-1, 6-1. They 196 giving up 102. Minnesota is 2-1, 4-2, 151, 121 giving up. Purdue is at 2-1, 50, and giving up in their 4-2. But then if you look, Northwestern, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Nebraska are all 1-2, 1-2, 1-3, and 1-4. So if you look at it that standpoint, only Indiana, Rutgers, and Maryland are all the only got the losing records in the East. I think right now the East is playing way better football than the West. I think it's just been proven the facts that the East has got four top tier teams in that league. I think Penn State, if that answers your question, Joe, I think the East is way better right now because any of those four teams can beat any of each other. I don't think Iowa can go in. They beat Penn State, but I don't think Iowa can beat Ohio State. I don't think Iowa could beat Michigan. And I definitely don't think Iowa can beat Michigan State. So that's what you're looking at in the Gophers. I don't think they could beat any one of those teams. And Purdue, they beat Iowa. So, I mean, if you're looking at that standpoint here, I think the East is playing way better football right now. It could change over time, but right now I think the East is way better than the West right now. So I think the East is better than the West of the Big Ten. So I hope I answered your question there, George, on that. Let's continue. Let's go take a break here, and we'll be right back. This is the ASAP College Breakdown Show on the All Sports All Play Network and the Fox D Network. So right now we're still having some technical issue with the Fox D Network, so we'll hopefully get that straightened out by next week. So stay tuned. We're going to come back. We'll be talking about the West Virginia TCU game and then the BYU Washington State game. We really don't have a game of the week here. It's really a lackluster schedule. Football with a lot of teams having a bye week this week. So the Georgia-Florida has a bye week. North Carolina has a bye week. So most major programs had a bye week. So this week is like a little, tell-all week. It's not a real rivalry week. It's not really a much ranked teams versus ranked teams. We might have a lot of good games here. Hopefully we'll have a lot of good games going on today. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is the Fox D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at foxdnetwork.com.
Welcome back to the ASAP College Breakdown Show here. I'm your host, Ray Cruz. Montez is off this week. So we're going to go into this. We're on the All Sports All Play Network, the Fox D platform. I'll bring it up where you can get us here on where you can find us located at and where you can make comments on. So welcome to the show. We're in our almost last 35 minutes of the show here, bringing you all the way up to the 12 o'clock kickoff. We don't look like we're going to go in overtime today. So let's take a look here. I'm going to run down. I know you've seen the rankings going across the screen here. Let's run down some of the college here. We have the American Atlantic Conference. SMU is leading that as tied with that with Houston at 3-0. Cincinnati's 2-0. So you have a lot of teams that are 3-0, 2-0 in that division, in that league. Wake Forest is the only undefeated ACC team overall, but North Carolina State is keeping pace in the ACC record of 2-0, the 4-0 Wake Forest in the Atlantic Division. Pittsburgh is 2-0, 3-2 Virginia, 3-3 North Carolina, 2-2 Georgia Tech in the Coastal Division. Race to the ACC championship. Big 12, Oklahoma are Sooners and the Cowboys are 4-0, 7-0, 6-0 regular. Rutgers, Baylor is one game behind, so is Iowa. Texas coming in at 2-2. We just talked about the Big Ten East. They have three-way tie right now, at least three-way tie, 4-0, 3-0, and 3-0. Michigan State, Ohio State in the East. The West is led by Iowa, Minnesota, and Purdue. Iowa leads right now 3-1, 2-1, 2-1. The Conference USA East is the Florida Atlantic Isles are 2-1. Charlotte 49ers are 2-1. Marshall Thundering Herd is 2-1. Western Kentucky Hilltoppers are 1-1. And that East, the West is the UTSA Roadrunners 3-0. UTEP Miners are 3-0. UAB Blazers are 3-0. In that right there, that's a little bit of race. The FBS Independents are 5-1. Notre Dame 5-2. BYU Cougars and 5-2 Liberty Flames. 4-2 Knights, and then you got your Minutemen, UMass Minutemen is 1-5. New Mexico State Aggies 1-6. And then UConn is 1-8 for the Independents. The Mid-Atlantic Conference, Miami, Ohio Red Hawks are 2-1. Kent State Golden Flash is 2-1. That's your two leaders in the East. And the West in that Mid-American is Northern Illinois 3-0. Ball State Cardinals are 2-1. Western Michigan Broncos are 2-1. Central Michigan Chippewas are 2-1. The Mountain West Conference. You're looking at Utah State 3-1, Air Force Falcons 3-1, Colorado State Rams are 2-1. That was in the Mountain. The west side of that division is 22, number 22, San Diego State Aztecs are 2-0. Nevada Wolfpack are 2-0. Fresno State comes in at 2-1. San Jose is 2-2. That's the closest in that battle. The Pac-12 conference leader in the North is Oregon Ducks at 2-1. Oregon State is 2-1. Washington State Cougars are 3-2. Washington Huskies are 2-2, and the Stanford Cardinals are 2-3, and the California Golden Bears are 0-3. On the south side, you're looking at Utah at 3-0. You're looking at Arizona State Sun Devil at 3-1. You're looking at UCLA at 3-1. USC Trojans at 2-3, and then you Buffalo at 1-2, and Arizona Wildcats at 0-4. The Southeastern Conference, you got Georgia on the East leading that at 5-0. Kentucky comes in at 4-1. Tennessee at 2-2. Florida Gators at 2-3, and then you got South Carolina and Mississippi Tigers and Commonwealth. South Carolina's 1-3. Missouri Tigers are 0-3, and Vanderbilt comes in 0-3 in the East. The West, you got the Alabama Crimson Tides 3-1. Ole Miss Rebels are 2-1. Auburn Tigers are 2-1. Texas A&M at 2-2. LSU is at 2-2, and Mississippi State and Arkansas riled up that bottom at 1-2 and 1-3. We have an interesting development in the Sun Belt Conference on the East. Appalachian State is 2-1. Number 14, Coastal Carolina Chandelier is coming at 2-1. Appalachian State is leading that East due to the fact they just came off the upset beat of Coastal Carolina Chandelier. So right now, the Appalachian State runs runs the table, can run the table. They win the East. The west side of this thing, Troy is 2-1 also. Georgia State Panthers are 1-1, and Georgia Southern Eagles are 1-3. The west side, you got the Louisiana Raging Cajuns at 4-0. They lead, and then you got Texas State Bobcats at 1-1, South Alabama Jaguars 1-2, UL Monroe Warhawks at 1-2, and Arkansas State Red Rose are 0-3 in the Sun Belt Conference, and that rounds out your conference standings right now. So let's bring it back into the West Virginia here. We got 30 minutes to go here in the show here, and then we'll talk about some more stuff here. But let's bring in the West Virginia notes. We have this game is at 7:30. Is at M&G Carter Stadium at Fort Worth, Texas. ESPNU will be carrying the game. West Virginia is 2-4. TCU 3-3. What does West Virginia? What will we have to see how West Virginia wins this game against TCU? One thing is it's been a rough 3-game losing streak with the loss to Texas Tech, Baylor, to go along with the 16-13 fight to Caleb Williams starting Oklahoma. However, the defense continues to be a killer against the run. The pass defense has had its worst day of the year against Baylor and allowed 220 yards and more in every game against FBS teams. But the defense front has been rocked with no one getting past 171 yards rushing. TCU's likes his balance and his knees headed with the defense that is getting gouged. The Horned Frogs are going through a defensive option season, allowing 525 yards more in 3 of this last 4 ball games, losing to Texas in one of the outliners. How will TCU bring back the win for the Horned Frogs? The TCU offense has been terrific. Quarterback Max Duggan is gutting it out through a foot injury. He's not explosive himself. He's a dual threat quarterback. He can run better than what he's been doing. He's got that hurt foot. It's still hurting him right now, so it's keeping him down. He's still attacking and rolling with 430 yards in every game, but lost to Texas and a season high of 529 yards last week against Oklahoma. The offense is doing just about everything but right as possible, dominating on third downs, owning the offensive line. It is not turning the ball over enough to matter. West Virginia doesn't have the offense to pop to keep up with the Horned Frogs if it gets up to a fast-paced offense. And that's what West Virginia has to do. West Virginia has to slow down the Horned Frogs. And if they can do that, and if they can play like they did against Virginia Tech, I think they have a shot to beating this Texas Christian team, Texas Christian University, TCU, the Horned Frogs. But they have to do what they did against Virginia Tech, play good on defense, run the football, pass the football, run the football, pass the football. They got to do all those things correctly, and they got to play with heart. That's my 4 keys to this game is pass the ball effectively, run the ball effectively, play turnover free, and play with heart. That's the 4 keys. If West Virginia can do that, they can come into TCU in Fort Worth, Texas, and pull this upset against TCU. That's going to be the key. What do we look at? The Horned Frogs, Max Duggan is the heart and soul of this team. If you can take the head off the snake, he's the head of the snake. You know what happens when you take the head off the snake? It kills the snake. The snake dies. That's going to be the key. That is the key. Can they cut Max Duggan off at the head? Can they cut the head of the snake at TCU? If Max Duggan gets off today, it's going to be a long day for West Virginia. A long day for their defense. So I'm thinking here in this ball game, I'm looking at the tail of the tape. West Virginia does not have the pop on offense. They have Brown. They have the two-headed monster quarterback, but they don't have the pop. So I mean that's what we're going to look at here today. So do they have the pop? Do they have the way to communicate to keep this offense alive? Do they have this what it takes to be? Do we have what it takes to be the way the Horned Frogs can operate? If they can operate the way they need to operate, then they're going to have what they need to do in this ball game. So can TCU do what they do, and what they keep doing, what they did against Oklahoma? They still battle Oklahoma. Even though Oklahoma won the game, they battled them. They play with heart. They play with intensity. Duggan is the heart and soul. They didn't take Duggan's head off, but they beat Duggan, but they didn't take the head off the snake. They allow him to get over 500 some yards total offense. If West Virginia does that today, they're not going to win this ball game. Right now, TCU is favored by 4.5. I think it's going to be a touchdown victory for TCU. I think TCU wins 34-27 in this ball game. So that's why I look at it this attack here and this thing here. So what are we going to see? We got one more game to predict here, and this will be the last game of our prediction or breakdown. And we're going to go over what I predict and how, who's going to win. We'll go through the whole entire schedule for the day. And I'll tell you what the location that they're playing here. And then we'll finish off the ASAP college breakdown show and get you ready for your first football game here at 12 o'clock Eastern time. So we're going to look at BYU. And one of our analysts on here is Nate. We're going to talk about BYU versus, Washington State. How to watch this game will be at 3:30. It'll be at the Martin Stadium in Pullman, Washington. Game's going to be on FS1, Fox Sports Network. It's going to BYU comes in at 5-2. Washington State comes in at 4-3. If Nate, you're around, you want to come on here and talk about your BYU, you can. You just, I'll send you I'll put the link in your chat here in a minute. If you want to join us, or you just come on, you can log into the StreamYard and click on the College Sports Studio and join me. If you want to, we're talking about BYU and Washington State game. Forgetting everything else about this game, at least for the moment, BYU should be able to keep the passing game going to give another Pac-12 team a fight. The Cougars lost to Boise State and Baylor over the last 2 weeks, but they started the year off with wins over Arizona, Utah, and Arizona State. Since then, the passing attack has improved over 300 yards in 3 of the last 4 games, and Washington State's offense has been just okay. The wins has been there for a Pac-12 Cougars lately, but the attack hasn't hit 400 yards in 4 of the last 5 games. BYU's offense will be a bit more balanced. It's been able to hit 400 or more in each of the last 4 games, and that's going to be a key. If BYU gets balance here, then this is going to be a long day for Washington State because you don't know how to stop the run. You don't know how to stop the passing. You can't generate turnovers. Your defense does not generate turnovers. If the BYU does their passing game and running game and they get a big yards and get big chunks and then balance, this is going to be a long day for Washington State even though they're playing at home. What do we see here for Washington State? Everything is interesting with Wazoo lately. Jack Diggert era has started just as the Cougars were starting to get going. Takeaways has been a big part of Washington State defense all season long with 2 or more in every game. But the win over Cal, the offensive side has been more productive when it's getting its chances. The team is miserable in the red zone. So if you get them in the red zone, your defense has a chance of stopping them in that red zone attack because they're often in the red zone. They have settled more red zone offensive production overall, but now it's scoring touchdowns instead of selling for field goals. Earlier in the year, they're selling for field goals in red zones. Now they're selling for touchdowns. So they're getting a little bit better in that red zone area. So that's what BU is going to have to watch. If they get this, if Wazoo gets their offense going, they're going to have to watch them get in that red zone. They're doing more touchdowns than do field goals in the last few weeks. What do we see happening here? Washington State, great through Nick Lover refused to get vaccinated circus, and it should continue to be strong now that it's over. At least for the players and the football team, BYU gave the ball away 4 times in the loss to Boise State, and it struggled on 3rd downs to keep Baylor's offense off the field last week. Expect a mix of those 2 things at Washington State gets past the last few weeks and keeps the production going. Digger is going to It's going to be a mess with anything continuity with the key happening. So the quarterback is going to be the big happening here. Um, does BYU come in here and beat this Pac-12 team? I think BYU has the ability to beat them. I think BYU can go up there and beat them. Will it happen? Right now, BYU is favored by 4.5, 56 and under. Some scores I have in Washington State winning 30-26. I think BYU is going to come in and put up some points. I think BYU scores 28. I think Wazoo only scores 20. So I have BYU winning 28-20 in this ball game. So that's the prediction for the games here. We have done a good role. We have done good jobs here, progressing, breaking down the games here to 2 hours and 41 minutes into the show. We got all the games broken down. We went through the whole schedule here. If you haven't seen the bottom of the thing, Wednesday nights, we're going to go review the schedule of the thing. Wednesday night, October 20th, number 14, Coastal Carolina went up to Appalachian State, where they have number 1. They're 0-5. Appalachian State pulled it out 30-27 now. Coastal Carolina has number 1 in Boone, North Carolina, at Appalachian State, which location is in Boone, North Carolina. Coastal Carolina is now 0-6 at Boone, up in Boone, North Carolina. Thursday night game, Tulane at number 21, SMU 55, Tulane 26. Florida at Charlotte, Florida Atlantic won 38-9 over Charlotte. Louisiana at Arkansas State Louisiana won 28-27. San Jose State beat UNLV 27-20 on a Thursday night game. Friday night game, October 22nd. Middle Tennessee at UConn. Middle Tennessee won 44-13. Memphis at UCF. UCF won 24-7. Colorado State at Utah. Utah State won 26-24. Washington at Arizona 21-16. So that was your Friday night score. Today we predict Cincinnati over Navy. We predict Oklahoma over Kansas. We predict Michigan over Northwestern. We predict Penn State over Illinois. We predict number 16 Wake Forest over Army. Arkansas over Arkansas Pine Bluff. The Cincinnati game and Navy game can be seen on ESPN2 at 12. Oklahoma at Kansas at 12 on ESPN. Northwestern at number 6. Michigan State on Fox TV on your local channel, Fox. Illinois at Penn State, that's on ABC at 12. These are all the 12 o'clock games. Number 16 Wake Forest at Army. That's on CBS Sports Network at 12. Arkansas Pine Bluff is also at Arkansas. That's at 12. That's on SEC Network. UMass at Florida State. That will be seen on the ACC Network at 12. Kansas State at Texas Tech at 12. FS1, I'm sorry. Eastern Michigan at Bowling Green. That's going to be an ESPN Plus. Northern Illinois at Central Michigan at 12. That's on ESPNU. This game is at 12:30. Syracuse at Virginia Tech. That's also could be seen on the Watch ESPN. Kent State at Ohio is at 1 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Texas Tech at Georgia State at 2 p.m. at ESPN Plus. We have Wisconsin at number 25 Purdue. That's at 3 p.m. on the Big Ten Network. Number 28 Oklahoma State at Iowa State, 3:30 p.m. on Fox, their local TV. At number 10, Oregon at UCLA at 3:30. That's on ABC. These games are at 3:30 today. LSU at number 12, Ole Miss. That's on CBS. Clemson at number 23, Pitt. That's on ESPN. Rice at UAB. That's on ESPN Plus. Maryland at Minnesota. That's on ESPN2. Miami, Ohio at Ball State. That's on ESPN Plus. Western Michigan at Toledo. That's on CBS Sports Network. Buffalo at Akron. That's on ESPN Plus. Then we have Colorado at California. That's on Pac-12. BYU at Washington State. That's on FS1. New Mexico at Wyoming. I think that's on the Watch ESPN, but they have no TV network listed for that. That's at 3:30. These games are at 4 o'clock. Mississippi State at Vanderbilt. That's on the SEC Network. Liberty at North Texas, ESPN Plus. Boston College at Louisville. That's on on ACC Network. East Carolina at Houston, that's on ESPNU. Tennessee at Alabama, that's going to be at 7. These games are 7 o'clock. Tennessee at number 4 at Alabama is at ESPN. Number 22, San Diego State at Air Force, that's at 7 p.m. on CBS Sports Network. Number 24, UTSA, University of Texas South and San Antonio at Louisville, Louisiana Tech at 7 p.m. That should be on Watch ESPN probably. There's no TV listed. Western Kentucky at Florida International. That's games at 7 p.m. That's on ESPN Plus. Temple at South Florida, ESPN Plus. South Alabama at University of Louisiana Monroe at ESPN 3. Nevada at Fresno State rounds out the 7 o'clock at FSU on Fox Sports 2. Number 5, Ohio State. These games are at 7:30. These games are at 7:30 here. Number 5, Ohio State at Indiana. That would be on ABC. USC at number 13, Notre Dame. At 7:30. That's on NBC. South Carolina at number 17, Texas A&M. That's on the SEC Network. Number 18, North Carolina State at Miami. That's on the ESPN2. Georgia Tech at Virginia. That's on the ACC Network. That's the game of the night on the ACC Network. West Virginia at TCU at 7:30. That's on ESPNU. Utah at Oklahoma State. That's on the Pac-12 Network. And then you have the New Mexico State at Hawaii. That's at 11:59. That's probably going to be on the Watch ESPN app. There's no network listed for that. So that game will be played at Clarence T.C. Chang Athletic. It used to be called the Aloha Stadium when I was there. They renamed it. So let's see what kind of comments we got here. Mike Hughes, one of the analysts here, says, losing my patience with Clemson Tiger, got to find an identity. Yes, Mike, they do need to find an identity. Clemson doesn't really have an identity except their defense. That defense is their identity, but they got to find an offensive identity. Right now, they got to find a quarterback that's going to be consistent. Do they make a change at quarterback? I mean, is that backup quarterback getting good? I mean, that's going to be the question. Because right now, the quarterback they have, he's struggling. He's inconsistency. He can run the ball, he can pass the ball, but he's inconsistent on his passing. He has to get better. So to answer your question, yes, Clemson does need to find an offensive identity. They have a defensive identity. They can stop everything, but their defense has been on the field too long during games, and they give out in that fourth quarter. So that's what happened at NC State. Their offense did not stay on the field at NC State long enough, and the defense got tired, and then they went in overtime, they were even more tired, and North Carolina State went away and won that game. So if you look at it, Clemson defenses keeps them in games, but they don't have no identity on offense. Their offense is weak this year. I know they lost a lot of pieces in Trevor Lawrence and ETN and Rodgers. They lost a lot of pieces, but they had a lot of pieces coming back. I had a good offensive line coming back. They had to replace the running back, which I think they found a running back has been pretty good. They got 2 outstanding wide receivers. The only place they didn't really pick up any advantage of, what we thought they might have had an advantage when he looked at Ogalea when he played at, I think I pronounced his name right, when he played at Notre Dame last year. We thought that might have been the glimpse. But this year, he came in this year, and he was not that glimpse that we saw at Notre Dame when Trevor Lawrence was out last year. But they still had like ETN, they still had their wide receiver Rodgers and stuff. So I mean, that could be a good factor there too. But they got a good running back. They got 2 good wide receivers, but they got to get a quarterback that can be consistent in passing. I mean, I know this is a down year for Clemson because of what they lost in their last 4 years. So, I mean, does this bring Clemson back up next year? I think so. I think Clemson has a better recruiting class. I think Clemson has better players on the team. But like you said, you can't play the game on paper. You have to play the game on the field. And what translates from the paper is not translating from the field on the offense. So I think it's really hurting Clemson this year. I think that's pretty bad. It's not really slanting Devil Sweeney, but Devil Sweeney didn't get his quarterback ready to play this year. This is a one time that I think the offensive side of the ball that Clemson has really looked inconsistency through Dabo Sweeney, not getting the quarterback prepared to win football games. Now, did they go out in the transfer portal to try to pull a quarterback next year? Or does Ugalea learn from this year and be effective next year because he knows what college football is all about? He knows the speed of the game. So, I mean, that's going to be a lot of issue coming in Clemson on the offensive side. They're going to have to recruit some little bit better offensive players, and hopefully they can get a quarterback that could be a generational player in college football, not a generational player in pro, but a generational player in college football like Trevor Lawrence, is. I mean, you had teams that do that, like in Tennessee, ain't had like a Peyton Manning in a while. So, I mean, you got to look at what you see on paper does not usually translate on the field because you're playing against other teams' defense who is now scheming for you. And then what does Pitt do today? I mean, Pitt is going to play them, but can Clemson's offense today, like I discussed earlier, can Clemson's offense today stay on the field longer and win some of the time of possession? They're going to have to run the ball today. Basically, they're going to have to keep Pickett off the field. That's got to be the key for Clemson today. They have to keep Pickett off the field as much as possible. That's either creating turnovers on defense, keeping Clemson in short field. Clemson got to play with heart. Clemson's got to figure their offense out. And Dabo Sweeney is going to have to outcoach the Pitt's coach. That's going to have to be the key today for Clemson to win this ball game. And like I said over and over and over again, Clemson's defense is their identity. But their defense has been on the field a long time in games. And that's not effective by Clemson. Clemson's defenses usually get off the field, offense comes in and they score, and they drive the ball a little bit and score, and that's that. The defense has been there. The offense hasn't. And that's what Clemson needs to figure out today. What do they need to do to figure out their offensive worries? I mean, let's go look at some here. Let's look at the team. I'm gonna bring up the Clemson schedule here. Let me look it up real quick. And I'm gonna tell you something. This is not Clemson football. I'm sorry. This has not been the Clemson football team thing here. And if you look at it this season here. I mean, let's go back to the beginning of the season here. Let's see here. No, that's too far back. I'm just trying to get back to the Clemson thing here. I'm trying to let me find this year's schedule. Well, we'll break down the Clemson schedule here for a few minutes here. If I can get it. There we go. All right, the 2021 season here for Clemson schedule here. Let's bring it up here. Let's look at Clemson here. All right. They played a good game against Georgia. 3-10. We knew that was going to be a defensive battle game. The only touchdown came from Clemson interception, returning back for a touchdown. That's only. I mean, both offenses scored 3 points in that game. Look at what Georgia has done the rest of the season. They have progressed their offense. Look what Clemson's done this season. They have really not progressed their offense. If you look at South Carolina State, they did progress a little bit, 49-3, but they played South Carolina State. If you look at the Georgia Tech and Clemson, that was a defensive battle. Clemson won 14-8. Look at NC State, lost in overtime, 21-7. Clemson barely beat Boston College, 19-13. They played Syracuse. They barely won that, 17-14. Where's the Clemson's offense? The last three games, they haven't even reached. The last two games, they haven't even reached 20 points. And they played Boston College, who lost to NC State 34-7. Syracuse, I mean, Florida State scored more points on Syracuse than Clemson did. 17-14. What's going to be the score today? I mean, look what Pitt did to Virginia Tech. They blew them out at Virginia Tech. Now Clemson's got to travel to Heinz Field. I mean, look at the record on the today on the road. I mean, they beat Clemson lost to North Carolina State. I mean, Clemson has played a neutral game, which they only scored 3 points against Georgia. They played at home, where they scored 149 against a non-FBS team, 49-3. They come back to an FBS team in Georgia Tech. They played at home. It was family weekend and football reunion day. They won 14-8. They went to Raleigh, and they lost in 2 overtimes, 21-7. They went back home and they only scored 19 points, 17 points at home. Oh, I'm sorry. They went on home and scored 19 points, and they went back to the road and up in the Carry Dome and scored 17. And they got to go to Heinz Field up in Pittsburgh. It's going to be a little bit colder at 3:30. What's going to be the score there? I mean, Pitt's been going good all season, scoring points behind Pickett. Can their offense establish a drive against Pittsburgh defense? That's going to be the question. Clemson finishes out at home. They play at home against Florida State next week. What's Clemson going to do against Florida State in that running? I mean, Florida State don't have really a good passing game. They have a good quarterback that can run the ball, and they have a good running back. They got some wide receivers they produced. Can Clemson beat Florida State in Death Valley? That game is next week at 3:30. Then they're on the road to Louisville. They should beat UConn on November 13th in Clemson. Wake Forest comes and calling. That's going to be a tough game on November 20th. And they finish out the season at South Carolina, which they probably could win in South Carolina. I mean, that's Clemson this year. Can they put up points up on the board? That's going to be the key today. And that's a good question. That's a good comment there, Mike. What is Clemson's identity? Their defense is their identity. Their offense is not. If you look at it, if you look at Clemson, their identity was their offense and defense. But when they lost all the pieces, now the defense is their identity, and they got to play to that hand, and it's not Clemson's way. Clemson's got to score points on offense. Defense got to keep other teams off the board. It puts points on the board, puts pressure on the other team. This year's offense is not putting pressure on the other team's defense, and their defense is getting tired. That's two things. So, I mean, we're almost up to 2 minutes, almost a minute here left. We're getting you ready for the kickoff today. I'd like to thank everybody here at the All Sports All Plays Network. Today is breast cancer. This month is breast cancer week. I have a few friends that that had breast cancer and they don't have breast cancer no more. Keep praying for them. Keep praying for all the people that has cancer and this nasty disease. Hopefully, they can find a cure for it. I have a cousin going through it right now. She's going through chemo. It's a lot of issues. It's a lot of issues on my family, and I know it's a lot of issues on people's family. I care, if you want to give out to some good organizations, there's a lot of cancer organizations out there. The Jimmy V Foundation for the former North Carolina State basketball coach Jimmy V. They're doing a lot of great work there at the Jimmy V Foundation. They're doing a lot of great work at the Susan Corman Foundation, breast cancer. WWE does a lot for them in their recognition here. We like to give time and thanks to everybody in prayers. So we're giving prayers here at the ASAP, and watch most of our shows in pink. I forgot to put the pink stuff on ours, but you can see it on a couple of layovers. So, this has been Ray Cruz on the All Sports All Play College Breakdown Show on the All Sports All Play Network on the Fox D Network. Hopefully we get back on the platform next week. Thanks for everybody watching. And I'll see y'all later. Peace.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.